Good morning and welcome on in. It's the finale day of the Content Creator Cup. My name is Anthony Malm. I got J-Mac by my side, and we've got more Smite 1, and I'm looking so forward to this day. It's been a lot of build-up, months of build-up to this point, but finally we are at the end. J-Mac, we feeling good? We feeling excited?
Yeah, I mean, this is, as you said, the build-up has been months coming for some of these teams, starting out all the way in week 1 of qualifier. This is back in March that these teams starting to compete for this eventual moment that we're about to be reaching here. It's going to be starting off not quite in the finals just yet. It's going to be starting a little bit sooner in the bronze match, but still some exciting matchups to be had, and could see some interesting stuff happen today.
One thing we did learn yesterday is the picks that we're going to see are going to be kind of out of nowhere potentially, or a bit more on there. But first, let's look at teams and how we've gotten to this point. Let's check out the bracket so far. And yesterday, a couple of exciting matchups. Team Rudy and Team Khastik ended up going 3. And our first matchup of the day, Team Davy with a very emphatic 2-0 over Team CaptainTwig to bring them to the finals to meet Team Rudy. Which brings us to this first matchup of the day, which is our third place matchup between Team CaptainTwig and Team Khastik, which I've been looking forward to this one, because these two teams, for me, they've been having a lot of fun throughout this tournament, so them meeting up in the third place match, I kind of expect to see some crazy fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these are two teams, for the majority of the actual Creator Cup, never really kind of faced off against each other. They believe they end up in opposite groups, even during kind of the initial group stage of this event. So getting to, maybe if I'm not mistaken, play against each other for probably the first time since these two teams have kind of been established. Should be interesting to see what they've done. Obviously, with both these teams suffering a loss yesterday, a little bit of a harder one for CaptainTwig going down 2-0 compared to Khastik, who went 2-1. Interesting to see what research has been done between these two teams to maybe try and bring here into this matchup specifically. I think looking over at CaptainTwig's team, they had some decent early games, but really the mid-late game was so they kind of started faltering. Where on the opposite end, this team Khastik had really good early games, and it was kind of that mid-late game where it struggled a little bit more for the squad.
As we take a look at the roster here, starting off with Team Khastik, there is some there could be some role swaps that we see today potentially. There's a lot of stuff kind of up on the table that goes along with having to get those selections down, J-Mac. But the team that we saw yesterday, Grave was a big standout, and we can't not mention XD001 and what we saw in that mid lane. And of course, Team Khastik is playing for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which is a wonderful charity, as all of them are. Again, everyone's a winner when it is charity. But team-wise, J-Mac, what were the big standouts to you yesterday?
I think Grave is a really good shot there. I think most specifically, Charybdis is a god that I'm going to be keeping a close watch on throughout the day. Charybdis is in that weird position where she is such a good god, but there are so many other things that you want to prioritize banning that she just kind of slips through. And it's not that she's a broken god by any kind of means. It's not like she's the most overpowered character. It's just that she's just good enough that almost anybody can pilot her to at least a decent extent and perform well on it, but you don't want to expend the ban for it. So it becomes that situation of, do we want to first pick it? Do we want to give it up for that second pick slot? And for my money, for what we saw yesterday, that god is crazy good. And I would expect to see either bans or top priorities like we saw it. Most often it was going into that second pick role, that plus whatever your dual lane is going to be. So expecting to see a lot of Charybdis. I think, at least from what we saw, Artio, one of those top gods for solo lane that we didn't really get to see a whole lot of shine from. The King Arthur kind of had some mixed results throughout the event as well so far. So I think a lot of where my eyes are going to be on is going to be towards this mid and towards this dual lane, specifically, at least just for the dual lane, just going to be that Hunter. But really, it does feel like a lot of teams are putting priority on banning Guardians away. I mean, we had a game yesterday with 9 Guardian bans over the course of it. And that's not to say that they were all support. There was things like Artio and Cthulhu thrown in there. But when Guardians specifically, a class that doesn't have an insane amount of gods in the pool, is having almost half of them taken away, it maybe goes to show that Guardians themselves are just good, and we'll probably be seeing a lot of action that way.
Yeah, especially with those Guardians like you're talking about, the Cerberus, the Ares, I really like too. So we'll see if they make an appearance. But first, we've got ourselves an interview, so let's send it over to that. Let's talk to XD001 over there with Dawson.
That's right, XD001 alongside me, mid laner for Team Khastik, and you got your action pose ready to go. I would say mid laner, but game 1, you're going to be coaching for this team, correct?
Yes, I will.
What was the decision behind this earth-shattering roster swap that is shaking the internet here in the SCCC?
I really wanted Khastik to be able to play one game at least at LAN. It's his team. He's got to enjoy it sometime.
1 to 10 confidence level in Cast. Is Khastik just going to be playing in the mid lane? Is that his natural role, or is the rest of the team swapping around to get Khastik where you want him? Not bad, actually. I got to give you some credit for that one. Not horrible.
He will actually be playing in the ADC. Grave will be playing mid.
Got it. Okay. So Grave over in mid, Khastik over in ADC. 1 to 10 confidence levels in Khastik over in the duo lane. Duo lane, little tumultuous yesterday. Do you think it calms down with Khastik and ADC?
I do. Grave's not there.
Got it. So it's Graves' fault. And Khastik is going to get things done today. 2-0, 2-1. You think you guys pull out the win?
It's going to be 2-0.
2-0. Understood. You heard it here from XD. Appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Get back to the desk.
That was one of the most inspiring interviews I think I've gotten to see personally.
Widowy hit the quitty on him.
Widowy with immaculate. That was inspiring. So if that doesn't get you hyped up for this matchup, I don't know what will. And called the 2-0, which is just as important as those role swaps, because you got to see if they can live up to the potential of their own smack talk. That's always the important thing.
And bringing the captain in, and I think it's important to kind of throw the highlight that way, is that Khastik has mostly been sitting kind of in that coach position for the majority of it, and has sometimes popped in for a game or two here and there, but has mostly been kind of watching in the background for these, kind of being that more coach, that more inspiring kind of role for the team, and allowing the rest of the team to perform there. So getting the chance to come out here at the LAN to now represent his team on the actual battleground should be a fun one. And then, up against them is at least one player in the name of CaptainTwig for their roster, is one that you've got to look out for. I mean, CaptainTwig has more LAN experience than every single one of these players combined times 10, maybe times 100 comparatively for how long he's been playing at LAN events. Obviously, even playing in the SPL, he's got a lot of talent and tenure that way, and has been able to really kind of pull this team together. And even whenever you would listen back during the group stages, the qualifying, when you would tune in to CaptainTwig and kind of hear the communications with the team, CaptainTwig mostly kind of sat on the back burner for a bit. He would sit back, like, okay, what's the team feeling? All right, guys, we had a nice little team fight. Let's rally back. Let's get ready, set up for that next objective. You didn't hear CaptainTwig as often in some of those communications because the rest of the team was really starting to pick up some of that slack. And so I think that there's a lot to look forward to with this CaptainTwig roster up against Team Khastik. The 2-0, definitely a lot of confidence coming from XD001 on that squad. For sure. So, but I think that maybe some confidence to be had. I mean, Team Rudy has been one of the hardest teams to beat in the North American side of things, and being able to get a pretty convincing game number 1 into maybe a little bit rougher set, taking them to the full distance, does exude a little bit of confidence to that squad. But with Team CaptainTwig, I mean, with the players he's been able to pull together, I mean, these are guys who've been around the scene for such a long time, whether it be at the SOC level, your top-level ranked players as well. So there's a lot of confidence to be had as well for CaptainTwig's roster. And also got to throw the shout to the representation for the Atlantis Children's Day Shelter on the side of CaptainTwig's team, so representing their charity there.
Again, that's the most important part of it, but looking at that gameplay, yesterday we talked about the let's have fun. You heard Dulcet and Gore say it on the desk over and over, that was that mindset, and we saw it with the Yorm mid in game 1, with the Maman solo in game number 2. Even if they didn't necessarily look fantastic, there were still some real moments of greatness. I remember that 2v2 that we were talking about with Elder and Twig. When the chemistry was there, the chemistry was strong, and I'm looking for more of that for sure. And honestly, I feel like sometimes if you can have that strategy of let's have some fun, you're a bit more unpredictable, and that could be a real strength that we see Team CaptainTwig bring into those picks and bans.
Yeah, I think the fun factor is kind of a big one. It is the bronze match, so not quite going for the big top prize in there, but still being able to have a little bit of fun, kind of get some crazier picks out there. You already know that on the other side for Team Khastik, they've role swapped a little bit, so interested to see what gets drafted for CaptainTwig's team.
Well, J-Mac mentioned top levels of play, SOC. Let's get an interview with somebody I've been casting for years myself, over to Dulcet and C-Host for an interview.
That's right, C-Host, mid laner for Team CaptainTwig here with me. We heard it in our previous interview with Team Khastik. Grave is going to be role swapping to mid for game 1, and Khastik is going to be in ADC for game 1. Does that change your mental at all? A role swap into your lane for the first game of the set?
Oh yeah, we have no chance. Khastik is the real ADC here. I mean, Grave, as we all know, is terrible at ADC, of course. Khastik is just gonna run us down over.
Got it. So you think this is actually an advantage now for Team Khastik? They got Grave out of the throwing lane and actually into a really strong point now.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and Stewie, he loses one purple buff. He's out of the game mentally. He's always yapping while we're trying to win the game on the other side, just crying constantly. So.
Got it. I don't know if Twig talks much about it. England is playing in the European soccer football tournament final later today. Is Twig in the player booth mentally today, or do you feel like his focus is maybe elsewhere?
I have a feeling that these games are going to be over in 18 minutes. No particular reason why, you know. I would like to keep the EU team from playing later. You know, we gotta keep them. We gotta go to some 60-minute games so they don't get to watch anything. You know.
Got it. In classic USA fashion, if we can't have fun watching soccer, neither can you. That's our mindset. You mentioned maybe going to Six Flags later today. Are you a roller coaster fan?
Oh yeah, dude. I got to give some of these old guys on my team a little bit of a heart attack, so we're gonna bring them there.
Understood. We'll see if we get to Six Flags later. Appreciate it. Best of luck in your set. We'll go to the desk.
Those interviews have not disappointed so far. I mean, that one was just as good as the one with XD001, and that one gave us a lot of insight to the game. We are going to see fun. I mean, if we're coming out with the mindset of speed running the game, what can we expect to see? Because now there's basically no plan, but man, I got to say, like, the call out to Stewie, too. Eyes on the purple buffs every single time. We'll see if the same exact thing repeats itself we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, eyes on the dual lane. I gotta feel bad for Crave, man. He's catching so many strays out here.
So many.
It's one thing when your team is is poking a little bit of fun at you. You know, we did the pregame interview, and it's who's most likely to to throw the game for you. And literally everybody on the team immediately point over like, this guy Gray, like he's gonna throw this one, and he tried to defend himself. You know, have you seen Rat Squid on Thor at any point? Like, that's something to be seen. But now catching one from the other team as well, like saying, oh, look, he's going to a better spot, so that's good for him. And I'm interested to see how Gray will now adapt going over into the mid lane. We've seen his performance over in roles like jungle as well in times of past. So swapping out of ADC and into mid lane should be a lot of fun there. And more than anything, I'm just curious to see what kind of picks get pulled out? Like, as you mentioned yesterday, we saw the triple Guardian from Team CaptainTwig at the very beginning of the day, then going into the Maman Brigitte solo that CaptainTwig wanted to pilot at one point. So, curious to see what the drafts end up looking like with some of these players whenever there's not as much on the line now for them.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing too. But as we get into the picks and bans for Game 1, we'll start to get a real idea of what we're going to see coming out. I know we've got our big look forwards. It's the Charybdis, it's the Artio. I'm really interested in seeing the Cerberus value because Cerberus felt like a real hit or miss throughout the day yesterday.
Cerberus is a fairly easy god to play in the sense that you know exactly what he's going to want to do. If he's jumping into your team at any point past like 10 minutes in the game, he's probably looking for an ultimate. So you know exactly what he wants to do. Jump in, big AoE, so as long as you have your beads, your leap, whatever maybe your CC immune ultimates to get out of that one, he's fairly easy to deal with. The problem with Cerberus is that with some of the changes that have come to that god over the course of the last few months, especially in this year, it has made him a pretty scary god if he can get ahead and if you can make sure to catch somebody without beads or CC immunity or some kind of leap to get away. Because now, if a Cerberus gets access to Blink, blinks in the back line, drops his ultimate, and if he has picked anybody up, he can now leap with somebody in that ultimate and take them twice as far as they were able to once go before. And it makes him such a dangerous threat to really have to deal with and has a heavy amount of displacement because of it. Not only that, now being able to get access to cooldown reduction with that leap if you land on enemy gods and kill the souls from there, makes it to where he's even more mobile. So even a blink, an early jump, if you get into a few different targets, can make him such a slippery god to deal with. The Prot Shred from his second ability is always very valuable. Paralyzing Spit, just a great CC if you can land it. And that's really where the separation comes from those gods. But as far as bans are kind of concerned, it's a lot of the same of what we saw from yesterday. E-Shell making another first pick. Not going to see the Chang'e make its way through. The Kuzenbo still staying on that 100% as well. This is the one god that's kind of slipped through multiple times, has been that E-Shell. But I will say I am happy to see the Charybdis ban and finally some respect put towards that goddess in the dual lane.
Camazot's locked in alongside that Cerberus. Maybe a Freya angle could be on board here. Freya was a character who yesterday felt like it needed time to ramp up. You talked about that third item slot, and when we did see that, the Freya came online in a really big way. And Team Khastik, though, looks like their priority right away is controlling the Yorm, who was a really big problem out from Team CaptainTwig, but a character I've been looking forward and hoping we'd see, one of my favorites in the game, Apollo. Apollo's in a really good spot right now. It feels very playable, which there are times where it feels like Apollo's a more for fun, a less prioritized pick. But right now, we're seeing him a lot. He's playing well. Items are synergizing really well with Apollo, too.
I think the one thing that's been holding Apollo back for such a long time has kind of just been the fact that Chernobog sometimes feels like a better Apollo. Sure, you don't get a Mez or a really nice, knock up with a dash or whatnot, and similar to the Ultimate, but it's the ease of access to global presence, and that's one thing that Chernobog had over the Apollo that kind of kept Apollo from really jumping up to that next tier. But now that Chernobog's not as strong, Apollo gets a little bit more value now. And on the opposite side, Zhang Kui, not a god I would have entirely expected to pop up, but this is a god that has a few different types of builds that you can go to really make him work. You can still go just your full mage style of build and just be absolutely insane, jump into a team fight.
Attack speed.
You can have the attack speed build, which is probably not the best build out there on the market, but it's one that people have done. I remember there was a point, I want to say it was like season 9, we were seeing like Blink Ring Zhang Kui from like Hazer over in the European region at that time, just doing wild stuff. You can also go the more bruiser style of build and go for things along the line of like Curse Weaver, if you want to get a lot of extra procs going that way.
Feels really
just
impressive
build them
right
really
now
tanky.
too.
So there's a few different play styles that can go for the Zhang Kui, and I think it just depends on where you slot him in. With the Cerberus, he has flexibility for dual lane and solo lane. Zhang Kui going to have that mid-solo kind of flex presence there, and similar to the Camazotz, having a couple different roles. Marty throws a little bit of a wrench in there because typically when I see Marty Cross, I immediately think mid lane. I feel that god's strongest role is in the mid, and I feel that his best build is more towards that ability style with a little bit of attack speed thrown in. His passive gives him a decent bit to really kind of get some extra boxing. But he's not bad to go in the dual lane. We saw players like Cyclone Spin, like Panda Cat trying to kind of pull that out that direction whenever you had him up in the Pro League. So not the worst selection to have if you want them to be your lone hunter. Just know that his ability around objectives isn't going to be as potent for Shred.
The Wheelish Hover. I really hope we see that get locked in. That could be a really interesting pick that we haven't gotten to see a lot of this weekend. That is in a really good spot, so potentially if that gets locked in. But going back to that Marty, like you mentioned, I'm seeing a lot of smiles from Team CaptainTwig's player cam, so it leaves me wondering if that is a Zhang ADC, if the potential is there. I'm going to hope for the fun stuff until the fun stuff is denied from me and confirmed gone. But the Bacchus and a Wheelish combination, a tale as old as time for sure. Well,
all right then.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you cook with Team CaptainTwig, and I'll just say easy peasy. Hey, flop into Poland. You kill him.
So, yeah, I mean, Bacchus or Wheelish, that's the easiest combo. Whoever you hit with that is just going to get smacked. Jormungandr, similar synergy that you have with the Bacchus. So you have two different initiators who can really be able to kind of help the Wheelish in that regard. The Cerberus is going to be in a really dangerous spot because Cerberus uses his leap for one of two things. Either to get in and start the team fight with an ultimate, or to try and grab the enemy team and then, oh, now I need to get out of dodge and use my leap to get out. And if you can pull him away from that leap, especially if it's an initiation leap, that leap where he was trying to jump in and land on 1, 2, 3 people and be able to get that soul expulsion and be able to get those cooldown resets are now going to be nullified because you're not technically landing from your leap. But if we're looking at CaptainTwig's roster...
Can I be a solo Olo?
If traditional Smite history has taught us anything, and this is going to be what I would say if this were, like, we're qualifying to a LAN style of match, like this is what gets drafted up to kind of play for a big match, where I would put these gods would be Zhang Kui solo, Camazotz in the jungle, you throw the Marty in mid, and then Cerberus Olorun as a dual lane.
Agreed.
That's what makes the most sense to me. But these aren't exactly players that like to make the most sense sometimes. These are a lot of ranked fiends out here. A lot of guys who just want to have a little bit of fun. Similar to Team Khastik, you look at this roster, and this isn't your traditional style of comp. The E-Shell mid, you throw the Jormungandr in solo, Apollo, and Bacchus to the duo, and then you have your jungle of Wheelish. Pretty, at least when you look at them, that feels like that's what the compositions should be for them. But I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Yorm and the E-Shell kind of flip-flop their spots. So E-Shell and solo, Yorm and mid could be a thing. Though knowing that Rundus is on a team and a Jormungandr has been drafted leads me to believe that this is going to be Jormungandr solo for Team Khastik. So I think it just comes down to, does Team CaptainTwig want to go with a standard, in air quotes, composition of where they want to put things? Or do they want to have a little bit of fun? Do you want to have an Olorun over in a different lane? Do you want to maybe flex something over into a support role? I will say that Olorun's support in Season 10 was really fun because you had Cloak of the Avatar, which was the knock-up meditation.
Right.
That's not there anymore, so it's not as fun because you can't Sanctified Field, knock-up med, and then pop your 3 and get another knock-up and put them in an infinite bounce castle. You can't do that anymore. but there is still some merit to throwing Olorun into some roles other than just that ADC. You can throw him in mid, you can throw him in solo if you want to. I think if we're just going off of traditional Smite history, this is probably just going to be Zhonghui solo, throw the Cerberus over in the dual lane as the support, and then you can flex the Olorun or the Marty in one of those 2 carry spots.
Give me Marty ADC, Zhong in the mid lane, and give me solo Olo. That's my biggest thing. That's what I want. Give me the fun stuff. Completely off the rails. Let's have fun. Let's have fun indeed. Let's have fun in game. And send it over to your casters, Dulcin and Gormizer.
Yeah, we're trying to apply logic here to, I think, an illogical team comp at its core. We've said from the beginning, Gore, that we're going to have some fun here this morning, and I think both teams really encapsulating that on the Smite Content Creator Cup 3rd place match. We got Twig on Zhonghui over in the solo lane. Not something I thought I'd be saying this morning.
You know, not something I thought I'd have to think about today either, but realistically, it's not something I ever disliked. And when it's up against the Yorm, like, a Yorm in a couple years ago meta would have just been like building mostly tank and then like an E-staff or something a little bit later to give him some punch. A Yorm in the current meta, as we saw yesterday, can kind of bop. So I'm really thinking that this is going to be maybe more violence in a solo lane than we would typically see. And as Doug hovered and then you double tapped it with a ring start, I'm real interested in what this Yorm is doing now.
But you know what? This is a good...
Where's he going with this?
This is a good mental reset for Dave. Let's have some fun this morning between Team Khastik and Team CaptainTwig. We talked in the pregame interview. Khastik subbing in for XD001, who is this team's mid laner, but then swapping over to ADC, which then puts Grave in mid, which is still not Grave's native position, which is jungle. Speaking of jungle, Elder is here. Over on the duo side, Khastik slides away. The target ends up being Malachi. Maybe for good reason. Not any escape for the Bacchus. And who gets the kill? It's Stewie. First blood for Team CaptainTwig.
Man, I'm going to be honest. A couple patches ago, and I haven't played him a lot since, but Olorun was looking real good not too long ago, and I feel like he's in a good spot still. To try and keep some of that pressure going. Give him a first blood, sanctified fields we always talk about and how good that is. I think that could be a very, very good thing to have happen for CaptainTwig, right? If the Zhonghui gets it, and nobody else getting it is going to make you feel bad. Elder getting it probably feels pretty good as well, but like throwing it onto an Olorun, allowing him to get online a little faster potentially, especially over an Apollo, like that is going to provide a lot, especially around Gold Fury fights. That level 5 mark is really, really big for an Olorun.
Uh-oh. CaptainTwig. He's fine. He's good. Just use the beads. Gets out alive, though, but gonna wish he had those beads on the Zhonghui. You need that for defense over in the soul lane, especially if Rat Squid makes their way over there with ultimate here in just a couple of levels. Still level 3, so CaptainTwig safe for the time being. Do want to shout out C-Host. I've never seen a more relaxed player. Look at that. Look at the bottom right of your screen.
We had some
He was
awesome Jake 408 games that are that
right.
leaned back.
That's right. Jake would do the chill lean quite often. C-Host now early in the morning here on Sunday.
It'd be dangerous if I was trying to game like that. I'd fall asleep.
I might fall asleep right now if I were C-Host and I were leaned that far back, but maybe mid lane is just a snooze until the junglers rotate their way over there. Rat Squid's still here. Still not level 5, though. Twig doesn't have beads, but still gets knocked up. I don't know if beads would have saved him there. Twig was low. Twig falls. That'll be first blood for Team Khastik. Of course, the actual first blood a few moments ago for Team CaptainTwig.
I'm watching Twig with interest here because both solo laners have skipped over getting a
Are
teleport.
you watching his career with great interest?
You know what?
I have.
I have, yeah. As it turns out. I didn't realize it at the time, but no. And it's mainly because, like, both teleports, or both Forgo teleport. Aegis makes sense, when you're up against a Zhonghui. That's a very, very common pickup. So Runda's, I see where he's going with it, especially if this build continues the route that I think it's going to go, in which case I want him to have an Aegis because he's not going to have a lot of prots. What I'm watching Twig for is when he hits 12, which is a long way away, right? He's still 4 and kind of getting knocked around the lane as of right now. But it's not uncommon to see a Blink Beads Zhonghui. And so I'm keeping my eyes specifically on what Twig's going to do as the game goes on, if it's going to be the blink. If he can afford the blink, because, you know, 2 more ganks like that, maybe you don't want it. We'll see.
Ratsquid, just within an inch of his life, gets away over in mid, but Graves now got to be worried. Oh, what a pullback by Ratsquid! But Elder still has Bat Out of Hell. Not enough damage to finish off the kill. Onto the wheel, so Grave flips it around. Elder on his final swoop falls to his death. A little scrap back and forth in mid lane. And that's the first mid lane kill. This time over to Grave.
I have been very, like, just happy with Ishel. I feel like the first times we got to see
Fun to
Ishel,
watch.
she didn't really get to do too much in competitive. And so now, like, seeing her, like, she's smacking people around. I am a big fan of the Ishel right now, to the point where I might even forego a support game just to try and get mid and see how it works. I want to play a little more. Like, it's inspiring me.
Very satisfying rotation.
I'm not even
You know?
sure she's won any of the games that I've watched. It's just the damage that I've been very, very, very happy with. And so I want to see a little bit more of that. And I like where Graves been at. And again, the way that he's playing with Ratsquid, that's just a really good turnaround, especially to get Elder and get that kill.
Poor Grave has caught many a stray. Return to that thought as Rundis ganked by Koja Fox, but it was a World Serpent. Goodbye. Just trying to get your ultimate on cooldown. That's Aegis for Rundis. Obviously with that ultimate, maybe you don't need the beads quite as early in this game. And so that's something we've seen in solo lane. Once the beads were down on Twig, it was a gank from Ratsquid, so maybe a small opening now for a gank onto Rundis with that World Serpent being down in. Little emphasis though, but it's Team Khastik heading their way over towards right. Koja Fox still with ultimate. CaptainTwig, ult and beads. Might need to use both. Pulled back, beads used. And there's simply too much damage. Rundis ganked just a moment ago and gets the assistance of his team to pick up a kill onto CaptainTwig. And blue buff is up, and it is ready to be stolen away by Team Khastik.
Yeah, that's just smart play, right? Get the kill. They know you have a numbers advantage. You know you have a numbers advantage. Step up. Force them to fight and kind of dare Elder or Koja Fox to step in. Now, though, you're in a more awkward spot. You've fallen back. Some people are getting their buffs. You're lower health. Fighting would be awkward there. And how does awkward in mid?
Grave trying to sustain up what little bit you can. Oh, he has enough damage for C-Host, however. Luckily for Team CaptainTwig, Elder was there for the return gank. Ratsquid still doesn't have his ultimate, just used it over on the right side of the map. Link is ready to go, but was in combat. I think the rest of the fighting will fizzle out from that point on. These mid laners, Gore, they've been getting active with one another. Neither has seemed really above half HP for most of the laning phase.
And like you said and called it out, Grave having the damn. This is, by the way, this is what I think is about.
Wait, does he have it?
Yeah.
What is that? That's one of the more annoying things I've ever
The
seen.
way he's laughing too. Twig's face. Twig.
Well, I mean,
That was
Doug has now hovered
perfect.
it a couple times. Gore, Telkine's ring first and foremost.
Yeah, I think he's gonna go. I want him to just
gonna go in
all in
for-
on the rings, just all attack speed.
Yeah, why not?
I don't know if he will, but that's kind of where I figured this build was gonna go.
That is annoying. 0-3 for Twig, and Rundis, therefore 3-0. We've seen. There you go, second ring. Gore's getting his wish. We saw what? It was C-Host playing your mid yesterday.
Yeah,
It was over in mid.
very different build.
Very different build, but was similarly annoying. Could be a kill here for Grave. Oh, the triangle just a bit misplaced. Malachi was looking for the knockup, won't get it. These two teams, they're not giving us a moment to breathe here. Though both have said they're expecting relatively short games. Trying to think of what XD said. 18-minute games, 2 18-minute games. But then, C-Host said, we don't want to let any of the Europeans later on today, we don't want to let any of them watch the European Championship. And so I think one team wants to get things over quickly. Team CaptainTwig will try to get a kill here on the Khastik. Should do so. They got to kill off Khastik. Come on, there you go. But it takes everything. Stewie
Might die
wanders
now.
beneath the tier 1 tower. And Ratsquid v. Stewie. Ratsquid wins it for a double kill. Far from clean, and Gore, a fight happening over on right.
And look at the autos, man. This is all you need. The yellow numbers coming out. You need a little
There you go.
more. But this is URM. Doesn't quite have his ult. That's going to be dangerous, which means free kill on the other side. But Look,
We're in chaos.
Rundus got what he wanted out of that, and that's the thing that I think he's really leading into.
Yep.
One more ring, he's getting triple kills right there.
Brave.
Not really.
Burned down by C.
I just want to make sure.
Maybe. And a solo in mid this time. Again, these players, gloves are off. Attempted solo over on left, now a solo over in mid. It's C-Host who wins it this time. Grave has gotten the better of C-Host a couple times. But C-Host flips the script. And Gore, after all, the 14 kills, that's what 8 plus 6 is, right? Yep. We're close to even. About as even as you get in the gold department. Slight XP lead, though, to Team Khastik. Different sides of the map, different leads right now. But both teams having fun. Unless you're Twig. I don't know if Twig's having
well, and you know what? But much like you were alluding to, I think Twig, he's happy no matter what. Because as long as he, by 3 p.m., EDT, wherever we are now, as long as he's like able to sit down and watch, he's going to be doing a good time.
This is a best of 3. We are 10 minutes into our first game in a best of 3, and it's 11:30 right now.
So he's going to be happy no matter what.
If this set somehow goes until 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, we have gone wrong somewhere.
And hey, I'm going to tell you now, chat, we're going to be off the rails if that happens. At 1 p.m., the game will cease to exist.
I'm teetering on an off the rails already. When the players wake up and choose fun, you have to choose fun as a caster as well.
Look, you don't start building rings on your
That's right.
and not having a fun mentality.
If you want your casters to stay on the rails. I'm trying to think. Again, I've done a lot of thinking back, and I'll pause this thought as well. Give myself more time to think. Khastik in a bit of danger. Has ultimate. So can gallop away here if need be. Doesn't have beads though. None of the lockdown connects. So Khastik just a slide away, holds on to the ultimate. Malachi rotating over, but this is a 3v1. Plus Grave makes it over from mid in time, and now looks like Malachi will just leap away, but chased down by Kojafox. Elder's there as well. Grave left running because C-Host has stepped forward. Wow, Malachi, after it's all said and done, is going to get burned away by Team CaptainTwig. Over on right, finally, some retribution for CaptainTwig. Snags a kill on a blue buff invade. His ultimate's down. Rundus slightly low, but has World Serpent, and so action may stall out there.
I wonder, well, I felt like with that mana count, never mind, I'm okay with it. I was like, you probably could have gone for a fight. It might not have been the most advised fight, but you could have tried something here. You're not going to be too worried about it. Kojafox isn't going to have the damage necessary. And you had mentioned it, Khastik, luckily
needed
into
that
the sky. And so happy he saved that from the last time.
Oh, please. Oh, please.
Oh,
no.
no.
Oh, no. I saw it. Don't dunk on them.
Oh,
no. He's healing. He's healing. He's good. He's A-okay. Yeah, the tower's going to help him out. Ooh. Has to sing a sweet lullaby to the purple buff. Ooh. Didn't like it. Made me sweaty and nervous, but Khastik lives nonetheless. Has to use everything.
I was legitimately holding my breath. that, like,
landing on the purple buff really freaked me out. Maybe Khastik thought more damage would be done, but he's okay. He's all good. Got the buff. Had to use his ultimate. Survives the gank. It's all A-okay for Team Khastik. I'm
going to give some credit over to CaptainTwig's team here as well, because while things, like, first off, this has been back and forth. It's 8-8, right? It's not like this is a stellar lead for either of these squads. But realistically, you know, Twig, C-Host, the Elder, and Stewie, like, all of their gods, I like the longer the game goes.
Yeah.
And so if you are looking for an 18-minute game, like, you need to get on board for an 18-minute game if you're trying to end it here quick for Khastik. And otherwise, I think we get some big advantages over towards Twig as the game goes on. And he did go for that blink when he hit level 12.
Yep.
And so that's, like, just shows me he just wants to play aggressive. It's blink in, ult, deal some damage, and let the team clean up.
Yeah, Gore, if a game ends in 18 minutes, usually one team is wildly far ahead. Gank over on left, Khastik uses the beads. Most support's been pretty active. But Kojafox is not soaked up all that much farm. 2 levels behind. Elder over to left. Nice mez from Khastik. Aegis there on the other end as well, but not enough. Elder still has a little bit more in the tank as well. Malachi retreats back beneath the safety of his tier 1. Was it Twig? Yeah, unfortunate for Twig. Another gank over on right in the meantime. That'll drop him to 1 and 5. Grouping for Team CaptainTwig, though. They have their advantage on left, and Gold Fury might be a nice consolation prize. CaptainTwig gets taken down on right. Malachi lets the belch roll through, but no good. It's Team CaptainTwig snagging the Gold Fury.
A Sanctified Fields just makes that engagement so much easier. Malachi, yeah, loses his life for it as well because there's just not much you can do after you've already used your engage and pretty much entire kit trying to get the steal. And so that's just a great rotation, right? You come in, you get a kill onto the carry, you see their junglers over and right, you know their solos over and right, and that's where Rundus and Ratsquid are. Yeah, you're making that call every single time. Elder's right there. You've got the ult for Stewie. And so beautiful call from CaptainTwig's team, beautiful play from Twig's team, and just an unfortunate thing to have to play into if you're Malachi, because Sanctified Fields just shuts you down so hard.
Malachi finishing the Pestilence, though. Had a little magic damage built in prior to that.
Okay.
It is the Ring Hasten Fatalis build for Rundus here.
I'm going to be, and this is like, it's literally not even been a full week, so my brain's still trying to come to terms with the fact that Hasten Fatalis is back in the game.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Koja Fox okay.
Well.
Oh, risked his life to use his ultimate, gives his life for Koja Fox to send out the ult, but allows Sehos to pull one back. Twig is over from solo. Let's get something going here, Twig. You're 1 and 5. I need an assist. I need a kill. I need something.
Oh
no, but now Rundus has joined the fight as well.
Oh.
Those auto attacks, they're not all that far reaching, but CaptainTwig still left in the fight, and Khastik is rotated over from duo, and Spoon feeds a kill. Right back to Grave. 1 and 6 for Twiggy in maybe the second most important game of his life.
What I like about that belly flop is that even though it doesn't connect, what it tells me is that everybody else was on the same page of let's get out, but Malachi didn't quite get the memo and was like, no, we can still fight, jumps in, sees no one's going to back him up, and then backs away. Pyromancer's good. Before that outbreak and the absolute insane amount of damage Grave did that caught me off guard, I'm really excited to see a Yorm chase people down.
Bye-bye.
Don't know how often we're going to actually get it, because as you had pointed out, and I think is worth mentioning, his autos aren't really that long.
No.
They are
you gotta be right there.
But yeah, you need to be pretty close to get it done.
He's squishy.
Yeah, by the time he started hitting somebody, he went from full health to 1/3 HP. He had no room to really work.
It's a very high risk, high
and he's
reward.
Going for another ring.
Of course. You can't half commit. You can.
You gotta full lean into it. If he started building prot items right here, you literally just get the worst of both worlds.
Right.
Now you at least will be really good at one thing, even if it means it's hard to do.
This is good. This is what I want to see. A nice 2v2. Rundus is going to get up in the action. Let's see how much damage he can really do. A bit onto Twig, but the Aegis will slow down his damage dealing. Rundus ends up being a 3v2. A swoop away from Elder and an ultimate from CaptainTwig, but Ratsquid, unsatisfied with the way the previous fight went, gets a knock up and a pull onto Elder. Should be some damage from Grave here, who has his ultimate and the chase down, and it's a killing spree for both mid laners. But Grave getting the most recent, but a pullback from Seahost gives a kill. Over to Seahost. Grave now left alone. Can he get one more? Doesn't look like it. And bye-bye.
That
double kill for Seahost. It was a pull from Koja Fox, which hands a double kill over to Seahost. Gore, both these mid laners now going tit for tat. Grave dies, but it's a killing spree for Seahost and a big gold swing for Team CaptainTwig.
Grave was maybe half a second off of getting, well, at least trying to get a kill, right? There's still aim discussions and juke discussions between him and Twig that could have happened, but was very close to trying to get a kill onto Twig and put a 7th on the board there for Twig in the death column. But as you mentioned, Sehos is having a great time. A Marty that is 7-1 is not really a good thing to have to go up against. Does a lot of damage. You're going to have to deal with that ultimate all of the time in these team fights, which is one of the most annoying points. Also, it makes him so hard to kill. Get a good pull for Ratsquid, but it's on to Koja instead of Sehos, which is not the ideal target in that scenario, which is unfortunate. Otherwise, you're maybe looking at a shutdown kill and open up the mid lane conversation. Instead, chill a little bit. Watch specifically what Yorm does. He's 2 levels up. I'm keeping my eyes on Rundus, and I guess a little bit on Khastik, because Khastik's on a different build. Like, has the global rotation. The Aussie is something we've been seeing a lot lately, but has gone into the Rage, which we haven't gotten to see as much of. But there's still crit builds right now. People are still running them. Whether they are the most optimal or what you're looking for, that's kind of still up in the air. But that's been the discussion since the dawn of SMITE.
Here we go. Finally, what feels like the first big team fight of the game. It's Grave initiated on. He'll get knocked up, pulled, killed, and it's Elder notching the first. But watch out, here comes Khastik looking for the first stacks on the Rage, and he'll get it. And it's a kill nonetheless. But in the backline, Malachi getting burnt down all this time. And suddenly, Team CaptainTwig emboldened by the way the fight has been going. Ratsquid uses his ult. He's going to flip this fight around and make it a 2-for-2 trade. But it's Stewie stepping forward all the time, giving the slight edge over to the red side.
Will be a Fury pull. And the way they play that, unfortunately, it's just Khastik, despite how they turn some of those moments around, it's a really disjointed effort from them, right? You've got a couple people who are up near the Broke Boy Gold on the side of Twig. You've got some people, you know, Khastik coming in a little bit late. Ratsquid getting poked out pretty early, has to fall back, but is still able to pick up a kill. So they were just very disconnected in their fight, whereas Twig was a lot more unified as a front in where they wanted their damage, where they were putting their damage. Sayhost as well, being able to set that up. You've got some really good team fight on CaptainTwig's team in general. And so fighting in jungle corridors in any portion of the map is going to give them a pretty distinct advantage, especially with Sanctified Fields up. And then when you have 3 people dead on the other side and your carries are alive, that's one of the simplest Gold Fury calls that you maybe could have made to just extend this lead even further.
Yeah, it feels like Twig has had really good fight around him. Twig is 1-6. Rundus is 4-1, so the KDAs look opposite. Feels like both soul laners fall into similar pitfalls. You got to be close to deal your damage, and you're both building full damage, so you're both squishy. And so you got to hope what's happening around you is better on one side versus the other. In the recent fight, it was just that one extra kill for Team CaptainTwig. The dive looked great for both teams. The backline found their kills, but a bit healthier, a bit cleaner from Team CaptainTwig. My goodness. Tired of saying that. We need an abbreviation.
TCT.
Even that feels like it's going to tongue twist me. Can you say Team CaptainTwig 5 times fast, Goremizer?
Maybe after a Pyromancer.
Team CaptainTwig, Team CaptainTwig, Pyromancer, pulled by Team CaptainTwig, taken by oh, that was number 5. Team CaptainTwig takes it. Ultimates exchanged over after the Pyromancer, though. Malachi.
I mess it up on 5.
That's right. Oh, were you doing it in your head and you messed it up?
I was like muttering.
That's impressive.
You probably heard it, chat. I was muttering under my breath.
CaptainTwig jumped on by Malachi and Khastik. Double dive onto the Zhongqi. Twig not long for this world. Grave with another. Elder now being left alone. Elder doesn't have bad out of hell either. That jump is his last bit of escape, but he'll find the safety of his tier 2 tower. But it's Seahost who you got to look out for in these fights because he is spreading the damage evenly across Team Khastik. But Ratsquid scrapping alongside his mid laner, who's very strong at this point in the game. Again, gonna give a slight edge over to Team Khastik. It's just the 1 kill for Team CaptainTwig. Seahost gonna get his back stopped. Oh, but he flips the kill. Oh, it's the worst decision Ratsquid has made. Gives the Marty 1 more kill. He's 8-1 now. Drops Ratsquid to 5-4.
Now the plan, at least that I saw coming out of there, was that Ratsquid wanted the kill, Grave wanted the kill. Grave missed, and Ratsquid died. So unfortunately, like you said, not only giving over the kill, missing out on a shutdown, and really putting yourselves in a worse spot. I mean, that was a pretty good fight for Team Khastik before that. They had managed to tank out 3. You'd already forced a back. We're forcing a second back. If you get that kill, yes, it would have been glorious for him, but you are on the right side of the map in a good position. The health bars were a little low, and you didn't have Khastik, so Fire Giant probably wasn't on the board. But you had the opportunity to maybe expand, push down a tower, something like that. Now, instead, you had to do a full reset.
Fire Giant is on the board now. It's Team CaptainTwig pulling it. Relics in a terrible situation. I don't have time to run through them all, but Team CaptainTwig secures the FG, and I think they're on different pages here. 4 of the members were backing up, and it's Koja Fox going back in, but it's a bait and switch. Seahost Divine now with 9 in a row, and there are more kills on the menu. Rundus unable to get off enough damage to kill CaptainTwig. FG +2 over to Team CaptainTwig. I can say it 5 times slow.
23 minutes with a Fire Giant. This is a good spot to be in. You do technically have a little more work to do than Team Khastik would have done, just because there's a tier 1 overrun, right? But you don't really have a whole lot of people who are going to be defending this. And if they step up, you still have Sanctified Fields. Not having to drop that gives Stewie such an advantage. You also didn't have a lot of pressure put on the Oleron early on, so like, he hasn't felt like he's fallen behind. Instead, he's hitting so much.
A blink forward, a stun from Koja Fox sets up a kill for Elder quite nicely. Khastik actually really under threat here of this game maybe just ending, because Team Khastik only have 2 members on map right now, but there's not enough health for Team CaptainTwig to stick around. They'll go back to base, reset. An early Phoenix on FG. Of course, actually some good shot calling there from Team CaptainTwig. We got FG, we got a couple kills. Let's pull that Phoenix immediately, and they have time to reset and get some of these other objectives off the map.
The real question is going to be if they think they can do more in terms of sieging. You've got a little bit of time. I mean, a Fury into left tower wouldn't be bad, but your minions definitely are not helping you there. The Beacon is also a good call to spread some of that damage out there, help you push a little harder. But now with the way that that Team Khastik is kind of split up and pushed up the lanes, right, is over near, well, going to be clashing just outside the tier 2 on Twig's side. Same thing just outside or inside the tier 1 ring on Twig's side for the left lane. And so for the most part, you don't have that minion advantage. When it's sub 30, not having a minion advantage going into a tier 2 can be okay, but going into a Phoenix becomes more difficult. So instead, you're going to have to burn a lot of your time doing this, pushing the wave up, trying to get this advantage here, and kind of recognizing that I don't think Khastik, and for good reason, are going to defend this tier 2. They might back for the Phoenix if they think it's under or in trouble, but otherwise, I like the way that they are playing this on the other side. Go up, get an objective, nullify a little bit of...
Twig is in. Twig is in with 4
Oh my god, he's going to stop their backs!
He's going to stop the backs,
Well,
but he dies. But it'll buy time for a Phoenix unless Khastik can do enough damage. No, he's on his
that's
own.
crazy.
I was about to say, Gore, this is maybe one of the best 1 in 8 KDAs. I don't want to ignore the 8 assists either. Twig is 1, 8, and 8, but he has the most damage in the game right now on a Zhong Kui. He's doing a lot. He's dying a lot.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't have Aegis on Zhong Kui. They just turn and burn you. But Twig is, what is it that aggro would always say? Like, your job at this point is just to go in, get all of your damage off. And if you die, you die, but you've done your job. You've done your job. Say what you will about the KDA, but Twig is dishing the damage big time.
Look, if there's anyone who got experience playing really well at 1 and 8 last year, that was going to be CaptainTwig.
That's right.
And you know what?
That's right.
We had similar moments on the Kings where like, him and Variety would be collectively like 0 and 16, and then they'd show up 20 minutes into the game, 25 minutes into the game, and just be like, all right, this is our territory now. Like, you might have shut us down. You might have ruined our early game. We're going to ruin the rest of the game for you. Oh my god, this Grave. Yeah, he's just deleted. I'm starting to think that
we're talking about
CaptainTwig's doing pretty good for themselves.
Team Twig feeling just fine. Really on the verge of closing out game number 1 here. Talk about an efficient Fire Giant. FG is falling off as we speak. But 2 of the 3 Phoenixes down during the FG buff, and maybe a third here with the mid laner for Team Khastik. One of the most important members of their team dead for the next 28 or so seconds. Got a little bit of time, maybe a minute or so until the Fire Giant respawns. So maybe an opportunity, Gore, for Twig just to force Khastik back into base. It's actually Khastik thinking they've maybe found a fight here. It's a pullback onto Elder. Malachi left alone. And it looks like he might die that way. Sure does. Koja Fox, the support on a killing spree. Seahost there to follow up. And Gore, the dominoes now starting to fall. Grave is going to respawn here. Not sure Team Twig are worried. They're looking for the end.
They've got the damage and the health to do it, and the survivability. If Ratsquid goes down, this game's going to be over.
Oh, what a bait by Elder. Ratsquid blinks in, but it's Elder in the bat out of hell. Great knock-up, though, from Grave on the respawn. Doesn't matter, and CaptainTwig finds his 2nd kill of the game at the end. Stewie with 9, and it's the carries of Team Twig alongside their 2 and 8 solo laner. Just got edged out for top damage there at the end. I think it was the Marty. I think it was Seahost who just snuck out the top damage in the game. But it was some fun to watch. You know, Twig, a smile on his face. You're happy to see it. Was 0-4 in the laning phase. Ended up finding a win nonetheless.
Yeah, I think things that you can be happy about and like that work to your advantage if you were Team CaptainTwig there, which starts off with you had a late game comp, right? The longer Zhong Kui goes, he is not an incredibly tanky character, but he's tankier than most mages, so even with a full build, he can survive at least a little bit, enough to get the damage off, as you had said. Blink in, ult, drop everything else, and then whatever happens, happens. You had a Marty, you had an Oleron, so you had essentially a double Hunter, and you were playing for late game, and both of them hit real hard.
Yep.
The advantage that you get out of not a Hunbat's, the... oh my god, I'm
he's a
blanking on
bat.
his name. He's a bat, which is why I can't... Camazotz, there it is. At least they're in the same pantheon. Camazotz, you know, his survivability towards the very end is like perfect for exactly what you needed in those scenarios where it's just like, oh, cool, you're going to wheelish ult me. Uh-oh, I guess I'm killing you now. Like, it literally just turns it around. And then the biggest advantage they may have had is that while it was really fun, Rundus literally couldn't hit you unless he was standing like right up against you. And so there was a pretty big advantage in range there.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one thing you and I were really grasping onto earlier in that game. We were like, the ring build.
He's got a ring.
It's going to be fun. The Fatalis. Didn't do anything.
Yeah, if he wasn't getting shredded, though, that would have been crazy.
That's a big if, though. It was happening pretty consistently. Team Twig. I'm shortening it now. I can't say Team CaptainTwig too many more times. So Team Twig with a game 1 win. We'll see if they can.
Tweem Twig.
Tweem Twig with a twin in game 1. Game number 2 coming up next.
But you never change. What's love got to do with it? He comes around, better knock that stuff down. Come a little bit closer. Yeah. Come a little bit closer. Yeah. To all my ladies who got a brother that doesn't treat them right, put your finger right in his face and tell that man bye-bye. I'm too fly. I'm too fly. Bye-bye. Selfish. You get mad every time you lose. You can't take me with you. I'm scared you're gonna blow your fuse. Come a little bit closer. Yeah, I can really start over. Yeah, in the back of my mind, there's someone waiting on me. You're just wasting my time because you're scared and lonely. Finally got some closure. Yeah, I can finally start over. Yeah, to all my ladies who got a brother that doesn't treat them right, put your finger right in his face and tell that man bye-bye. I'm too fly. I'm too fly. Bye-bye. 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 Here's to the memories. Cheers to to be. Your friend said that you left me. I'm glad that's what you believe. To all my ladies who got a brother that doesn't treat them right, put your finger right in his face and tell that man bye-bye. I'm too fly. I'm too fly. Oh, bye-bye.
Immortals have invaded my realm, and my children rebel against me. Dark days these are. But my strength shall bring resolution, and my lightning, illumination! Zeus!
Bologna.
Anubis!
Kukulkan.
Saturn!
Hello and welcome back in. Thanks for hanging out, and we got more games on the horizon, but StarForge PCs are the best spot you could possibly be playing Smite 2. The one in here has had my eyes glued to it the entirety of this weekend. I stopped by it I said like a kid in a candy store yesterday. Now I've got a borderline obsession. But StarForge Systems, make sure you check it out. StarForgeSystems.com/products/Smite. The best place you can play Smite 2. Anthony Melm still here with you, with J-Mac by my side. And J-Mac, Worm Talus didn't work out. I don't think I'm ever going to recover from that.
No, it was fun to see the full ring worm. That was a weird way to say that. The full rings Jormungandr. Let me change the way
We regain.
Okay, the
Worm Talus.
Jormungandr with the rings and Fatalis did not work out well. But it was very fun to watch just because watching him zoom around. But unfortunately, the Jormungandr ran into the problem of all my opponents have to do to get away from a Fatalis Jorm is to simply just
stay
walk
far enough
away
away
and stay not within like half melee, half actual range of him. I think the thing that ultimately comes down to is something that we see happen a lot in amateur matchups like these where, in SPL matches when one team is pushing a lead in one lane, something is being done on the other side to help continue to facilitate that lead. Where in this matchup, we see Team Khastik constantly bullying CaptainTwig. They're kill after kill on CaptainTwig, keeping the Zhonghui down. The problem is they're not making sure their other lanes are holding up as well. We see in the mid lane, it's going okay, but nobody's really keeping C-Host in check on the Marty Cross. And Marty, when he's able to get those first couple items online, is when his damage numbers really start to spike up. And it's mentioned as to why I prefer Marty Cross in a spot like the mid lane to play more like a mage, a more ability style focus, is that his abilities hit really damn hard. And when you're able to try and walk up to a 200 HP and he hits you for, what is that, like 1200 damage in an instant burst, it's so hard to deal with him. I mean, he goes essentially unchecked for the entire game. That ultimate is still one of the most dangerous ones to deal with, even though its damage and its pen has been reduced over and over again throughout the course of time. He's still just a strong god. He has great ability to follow up as well. Anytime the Koja Fox is going in, picking up somebody at the ultimate, it's Sehos following right up after, jump up into the sky, death from below, or death from above, able to really knock them down. Stewie, as well on its Olaron, played it really well. The placement of Sanctified Field in team fights is always such an important thing with Olaron, and really that's what separates good Olarons from bad ones, is where you place the ultimates in team fights. Are you throwing it towards your team to keep going in? Are you placing it on the retreat path and actually throwing it the direction you're trying to run? And how are you placing it whenever it comes to these Phoenix Sieges? And what we saw at the very end at a Titan Siege, when someone's about to walk into their fountain, you throw Sanctified Field, and now they can't get back to their fountain in time to regenerate. So I think Team CaptainTwig just sat there and went, all right, well, CaptainTwig, you're the lamb for slaughter this time once more. Do whatever you can. And to CaptainTwig's credit, he did have most damage in the lobby. I think maybe not at the very end of the game, but for a majority of that game, CaptainTwig was putting in the damage on the Zhonghui. It's just there was nobody usually to back him up, or it was 3 people diving him, so he gets all that damage on the 3 people. He dies, and then the team follows up after. And that's just kind of been, and it feels almost toxic to say it, that's kind of just been a lot of how CaptainTwig has operated over the course of this event and even during some of the later parts of his SPL career, where his KDA will not look pretty. You will load into many games against CaptainTwig and see like 1 in 5s, 1 in 8s, 2 in 10 styles of games, but he's getting the rest of the team built up. He's facilitating the rest of his team to be able to get that damage, to get that follow-up out there.
Well, we're ready for picks and bans for game number 2, so let's head on in there, and I'm right there with you. what was it, TweamTwig?
Oh, I don't like that.
The play style that they had going was we can't say I'm not gonna say it 5 times fast, so we got to find our new way. I like Team Twig, but I like adding the W's. It goes with the it feels like the counter matchup to the Gwitty from XD001.
Because he widowy hit the Gwitty on him.
Exactly.
Just
But
wait
no,
till we get a Kuzumbo in there. He's gonna widowy wadowy wave on him.
we get one this weekend. But looking at Stewie, that was kind of my big regain performance I was looking for. Stewie got really kind of run over, especially against Ragna yesterday, and never got to experience what a purple buff was like. And today, well, I mean, Khastik almost got to experience too much of a purple buff, so it was a total turn of events for Stewie. And having Stewie being able to perform feels like it opened up the map so much for Team Twig. We got to see C-Host play more confidently. We got to see CaptainTwig regain, despite, like you said, the more rough stats. Now, the first lock-in, J-Mac, for Khastik, Chalk. That's a character that we have seen be banned a lot this weekend, and only played once or twice, if at all, from my memory. I feel like we haven't seen it, so I'm kind of excited on what it can actually bring, especially being that first pick of commitment.
Yeah, we did see a ban of Chalk before, and Chalk does a lot of really good things right now in the current state of the game. With everybody's health being a little bit lower, his damage numbers are a lot more relevant. He's also one of those characters and those warriors that does like building into a bit of damage, and now that the health bars are a little bit lower, the healing means a lot more. So now the scaling was pulled away from his heal, it made him a little less valuable in that regard, because it used to be the more damage you had, the more that you healed. Then it just became a flat heal. So now that flat heal means a little bit more. He's got some extra relevancy. The only problem that I generally have with Chalk, specifically as a solo laner, is that unless you're building more damage than you are defense, when you get to late game, your damage numbers aren't relevant enough to threaten a carry, and your CC is essentially a giant AoE slow or a giant AoE silence knockup. And those don't do a whole lot against some of the players out there. So if you are going to be going this Chalk, I would much prefer to see Chalk out of the jungle going a full damage style of build with maybe a little defense like a shifter shield or something like that.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to hit absolutely like a truck at that point. You will be able to threaten carries with your damage. And at that point, it's the, well, I did 99 or 100% of a carry's health before I went down versus doing, I did like 20 or 30% of their HP and maybe got a relic or two here and there. So I'd rather see this Chalk go into the jungle with the Zhong Kui locked in. Is potential. We have seen this in Anubis Hover, I think,
I'm not buying into the hype. Yeah, I was ignoring it.
For Team Khastik. And look, this might be your last game to
That's
just
a good
lock it in.
point. Come on.
Just go with it.
Oh, now you brought me back into the hype, though. See, that's problematic for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to give myself a false sense of hype along with it because
Yeah.
I love watching Anubis. We're not going to see it yet. Still 2 more chances.
Yeah, true.
Still
We're not out yet.
2 more possibilities. However, I will say this is getting dangerous territory for Team Khastik with their comp because they've now committed to 3 characters that are pretty dependent on healing and lifesteal. Cerberus is available. If Team CaptainTwig just want to grab that one.
as well, and
Suket.
Camazot's already banned away.
Osiris available. Odin if you want to go towards it. Yeah, I think that the Cerberus is a great pick. Sure, it's not the funnest match into Terra. Terra can stop the ghastly breath. She doesn't, as long as she has one of her multiple stones down, she doesn't get picked up by the Cerberus ultimate either. So it gives her a little bit of counter matchup that way. But if Zhong Kui, Terra, Chalk walk into the backline and a Cerberus is there, Cerberus is feasting. I'm pretty sure they're just healing him as opposed to damaging him the entire time.
And the Chiron is a big, awesome mark for me, because Chiron is a character who was not touched in the same ways in patch notes that we've seen Medusa be looked at. And Medusa and Chiron were battling for that top spot of the Hunter role for a very long time in the most recent metas. But you've got the flex potential too. We've already seen C-Host today go crazy on Marty. Chiron can fill that same exact slot for me, so if you want to run a double ADC, you've already locked down your Fafnir. And one thing that I was impressed to see, I even said this to you off air, I was surprised nobody had banned away the Camazots from Elder. It's a comfort pick for Elder. He's been playing it all weekend long, and it's a god pool that is not as fleshed out, but I've seen Elder perform on a lot of different picks, but it's just simply not as fleshed out as some others in the tournament. So controlling the Camazots being gone and forcing Elder to be a little more uncomfortable in the LAN environment is a really good play from Team Khastik, and it could work super effectively. It's already forced them to go for a last pick of their jungle, which isn't really where you want to be.
if you want to do the ultimate power move for Team Khastik, and you want to get the ultimate counter matchup against Team CaptainTwig, you lock in on Plosh. And I say this specifically because Plosh is the hardest counter to Chiron and Cerberus, and probably a harder counter matchup to Cerberus more than anybody. And for one reason and one reason alone. Fleeting Breath. You throw Fleeting Breath at Cerberus, you walk up to him, and you pick up the corpse in his face. He's going to heal from his passive from that, and therefore will get stunned by the Fleeting Breath stun afterwards. Chiron is in a similar boat where you throw it at him, and Chiron just has to stand there and pray that he doesn't cast a single ability, because all of his abilities via passive will heal him as well. But it's not going to happen. It was a pipe dream hoping that we would see a second on Plosh just because of the matchups. Instead, Ratatosker, Nuwa, no surprises there. Nuwa, just such a powerful mage right now with the Buster of Clay Soldiers. Being able to proc items means that things like Conduit Gem, Soul Gem, Soul Reaver, all very potent on this god. And makes it to where she has an immense amount of burst damage, especially with everybody's health bars being a little bit lower. The Prot Shred that comes from those Clay Soldiers just gets so much more value now that everybody's base protections are just a little bit lower than they once were. And you're typically usually putting at least a point or two into those Clay Soldiers in your first 5 or 6 levels. Usually by like level 6, most people have at least 2 points in it for the double soldier and for that extra Prot Shred that you're going to get from it. And Ratatosker, we've already mentioned yesterday, talking about the great buffs that he got to his Acorn specifically, all getting a little bit of extra damage at base. And for the healing side of the tree, which we probably won't really be seeing that much of it. Usually when you see jungle, it's either the crit or the extra acorns from the Acorn Blast more than anything. Team Khastik's got a strong team fighting composition. My only worry is how much value this Cerberus has into the comp, as well as the Olaran. I think this is something that I forgot to mention about the post-game and really in the pre-game of the previous match, was that who is running at Olaran on this composition? Chalk can go CC immune in his ultimate for a little bit. Ratatosker can go up to the sky to try and dive him. But I guess Nuwa can technically get out of a Sanctified field for a little bit with Fire Shard. But Jonqui's not going to be able to run down Olaran. Terra's not going to run down Olaran. If you've already used the ultimate for Chalk, Rat, or Nuwa, you're not escaping a Sanctified field or chasing down Olaran. So the biggest problem that Team Khastik is going to run into is when a Sanctified field gets dropped, who in their right mind is going to be the one to try and dive through there, to try and fight into this Olaran and this Hunbat's combination? This is so much beads pressure just from those last 3 picks between Serb, Olo, Hunbat. Doesn't matter. The Fafnir, he'll have a free reign of the map with his hammers, with the spits that he'll have whenever he's in that Draconic transformation, because there's so many other people applying beads pressure on CaptainTwig's team that I think that Team Khastik needs to win this game in the first 20 to 25 minutes. And I mean win this game hard.
I mean, especially because J-Mac, looking at it, is our ADC Nuwa? Is our ADC Zhang?
You know, I didn't even think about that now that you mention it. You might get that ring Zhongqi you were looking for in the previous.
I've been hoping. We got Worm Talus. Now give me Zhang Talus. There's going to be a better one. Somebody's going to put one. It's going to be great, and I'll support it.
Zhang Ring.
Zhang Ring. I can work with it. We can workshop, too.
He's got a couple of rings himself.
Yeah, okay. I'm with it. I see where you're heading, and I follow the vision. That's what I'll give you. But no, I'm so excited to see the Zhang actually work out here. It's this one gets me pumped up. I feel like it's going to be one of the more it's going to give me the same vibes as Worm Talus, but I've got a little more faith in it, especially potentially running down that Olo before level 5.
Yeah, Olaran pre-5 is where you need to put a little bit of pressure if you're Team Khastik. Try and get ahead in that dual lane, shut down the Cerberus, shut down the Olaran. Those are going to be your most valuable early game picks. But like I said, for Team CaptainTwig, all they need to do is just coast. They just need to sit back, farm for their first 20-25, don't fall more than like 2,000 or 3,000 gold behind, and they're going to be chilling when it comes to late game. Because Hunbats, Olaran, Cerberus, they're just going to absolutely run this map. Team Khastik needs to win and either win the game by 25 minutes or be 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 gold up, hitting around that 20-minute mark, maybe even further ahead at then. They need to get that advantage early game because this is the team that is going to struggle so heavily going to late game. And as the aforementioned, there's no Hunter. They don't have ranged physical damage, and unless this Ratatosker is going crit, they don't have great objective shred to go for anything, and especially structure shred.
And don't forget, it was supposed to be 18 minutes game 1, and a lot of these guys got a football match to watch, so they got to speed it up. But let's head into game and speed it up ourselves with your casters, Dulcin and Gormizer.
Yeah, I still stand by it, Gore. It's 12:13 at this point Eastern time.
Yeah, Twig's not sweating.
Yeah, Twig is A-okay. It's our next best of 5.
Team I, Davey.
Yeah. And it's funny, we talked to Davey just briefly between sets. The lone English supporter for his squad. The rest of his team care equally about the European Championship happening later today, but want the other team to win. And so Davey was joking that team is very united in a 3-0, but very divided after that.
I'm calling it now that at any point today, if you see Davey just kind of like hung out to dry, know there's some animosity behind the scenes. It's intentional.
That's right. Well, let's talk about game number 2 here. CaptainTwig on the Cerberus this time. Hun Bats. It is the Hun Bats this time, not the Bat and Camazotz. Seahost, Koja Fox on the Fafnir. Oh, Seahost is playing Charon, by the way. I just said his name and not the character. And then Stewie back on the all-around. It felt like the first time this weekend, Gore, that Stewie kind of got to play the game, and the all-around looked pretty good.
I like the transition to a Ratatosker and having a new wall. I feel like you could put more pressure on Stewie this time, which admittedly, like Oleron in the past, relatively easy to gank, right? When he has beads or when he has ult. Those are the times where you have to go, pull him away. But then when you get rid of him, he's just a sitting duck. And you look at it now, he's used the beads already. So you've got someone who's pretty easily opened. Not the easiest time to make it over to that side of the map. But I think Rat Squid, with what? Essentially 3 full minutes still, 2.5 still to work with. Should not be too worried. Might be able to get something to happen.
That said, if Stewie and Koja Fox are just shoved beneath their Tier 1 tower the entire
there's
time.
no real way to get to them.
Right. Speaking of being shoved beneath your tower, this lane I have to imagine, Gore, is going to be super annoying for CaptainTwig. Blue buff on Chalk with Blue Stone. Just tossing axes, chunking health, getting that wave pushed out. Twig, 0-4 we said, and 0-5 maybe in laning phase in game number 1, hoping to avoid similar downfall. Both junglers. Eyes towards mid, but won't be a fight there. Again, I imagine this is where Stewie and Koja Fox will be. And Gore, maybe over in solo lane, that's where we'll expect Twig to be as well, just given how that matchup maybe is on paper.
Yeah, it's one that, compared to the last game where it was a Zhonghui full damage and a Yorm auto base attack and air build, you really changed up the pace of that lane from one where, you could go 0-5. I think you'd have to try really hard on the Cerberus to go 0-5 in the lane phase. I feel like there's a certain point where you have your own self-healing and disengage that you probably are going to get out of a decent amount. And so for Twig, and I think on the other side, as you had mentioned with the Bluestone Chalk, I think it's going to be very smack each other a ton. Very solo lane, right? It's going to be the epitome of solo lane. We're going to hit each other a ton. If our junglers come, maybe there's a kill, maybe some kill potential for Rundus, but for the most part, it's just going to be farm, sit back, trade out farm. Can I get this buff? No, I can't get that buff. Maybe looking for some invades, but otherwise, I expect much of what we're seeing already.
Of course, Grave, Malachi, they're going to have the pressure over here in duo. Takes Oleron a little time to build up. Team Khastik, both left and right, as now we've talked about for a few minutes, are going to have pressure across both the side lanes, and that opens up the first neutral objective of the game. Good grouping. And a good secure there. Malachi on the Terra, Gore. Haven't seen much Terra this weekend. I've sort of glossed over, and I'll put an end to it now. The Zhonghui over in the duo lane. We've talked about how it's Koja Fox and Stewie who are on the back foot. Why are they on the back foot? You got a Terra and a Zhonghui ADC, I suppose. I don't know if you can call him ADC in a traditional sense, but you can call him ganked because Koja Fox leaping over the wall. Elder not far behind, level 5. Has the Fear No Evil. Grave also has his ultimate. And it's Aegis on the Zhonghui. So won't have beads, but Elder thinks better of it. Malachi playing far up, but not attractive enough for Elder to go in for the gank just yet. Instead, it'll be a purple buff invade and maybe scrape away a bit more of the jungle.
Yeah, the thing that J-Mac had highlighted on the desk really, becomes true and stands out mainly because of Grave. Like, I think this team could do decently well into a late game fight if they had it literally just a hunter that was playing right there.
Ow, oh no.
In trouble.
Yeah, Elder's in trouble. Goodness gracious, all at once. Grave, ult. XD ulted just a moment ago. That gave vision of this Hunbats, who was at the time back in the purple buff. Gave Team Khastik enough information to then collapse and then first through the Cosmos from Rat Squid. That was always going to be difficult for Elder to break away from. Wow, 4.5 minutes in, Gore. First blood bounty, sure. 1,500 gold from other sources is the lead for Team Khastik, but again, this is all maybe fueling into that storyline that we've discussed. It's just these side lanes not getting any pressure for Team Twig.
The pressure, it's going to shift, though, and actually this might be the
Maybe
kind of
eventually.
dynamic where it comes in, because this
Mighty
is
Bucks.
the ultimate. This is the kind of damage that really turns it around. Not enough. Well, if you stand there, might be enough to
And
get
Grave
the
can't
damage.
go back in. Malachi Atri may be able to just run down Stewie at this point. That's the knockback from Stewie. Does not have Sanctified Field, and it's a 1v1 Grave versus Koja Fox. And it's Grave getting the kill, and it could be great for Team Khastik. It sure is. A couple 1v1s, both going the way of the Khastik duo lane. CaptainTwig has been pressured by Rundus in the early laning phase, and now the fighting arrives at his doorstep as well. Seost has let a shot ring out, but not enough damage. He'll gallop away, and as the dust settles so far, it's a 2 for none, but now a 3 for none across the map for Team Khastik. Man, bad to worse. If you're in the 2-0 set 1 camp, the early goings here looking great for Team Khastik.
There's so many things that have me scratching my head in that engagement. Admittedly, on the right-hand side, that was all pretty straightforward, right? You've got a numbers advantage. Rat Squid comes over. Twig, you know, while he is Cerberus, has a breastplate, can be kind of tanky, is still just a level 7. Doesn't have too much going for him at this point to really turn things around. The one that really stands out to me and kind of confuses me was when Stewie's in trouble. I kind of see where Koja Fox is coming from in I'm a dragon, I can maybe chase down and get this kill and finish this kill onto Grave. But there was a lot of time for him to turn around and CC.
Opportunity for Team Twig here. They need it. But man, Grave is just turning around all the damage. Oh no, it's disaster. Grave already a double kill. A third on the doorstep if Koja Fox doesn't have the damage. But thank goodness for Team Twig. The Fafnir flips it. A dream start, though, for the Khastik duo lane. Gore, we have seen fireworks on the left side of the map all weekend long. Game 2 here, no different. 3-1.
Oh.
That was a killing spree shutdown for Koja Fox. God, you would really like anyone else but your support to get that shutdown. But Koja Fox now might have to pay for it. Rat Squid is over. Has ultimate if he needs it, should he choose to use it. Don't think he will. Goodness, you got to rewind to that gank. 2 for 1, but it's both kills off for Grave.
And that, you know, when we were talking about what a Zhang Kui can do, and kind of what Twig was doing, although Twig wasn't getting the kills with it, he was just getting the damage out there. That's what a Zhang Kui can do, and that is just the issue you're going to run into until you have Aegis. That's why we saw an Aegis so early from Rundus last game, because you know if you're caught in that ultimate, it's just going to be free damage overall as long as he sticks to you, especially when you were someone like that who needed to be melee. And so for this case, Elder, like, it would hurt and it would feel bad if you did go into an Aegis first because you want Blink on a Hunbats. Sometimes you want beads. I don't know if you necessarily need that one right now, but like, it is going to be problematic trying to shut down Grave until a little bit later.
Well, they're going to try, but Grave is 3 levels up at this point.
Yeah.
Sanctified Field is now timed out. Yeah, Grave just has the damage. It's a fool's errand to try to kill this Zhang Kui right now. That was a 2v1. It was close, I guess. Grave just has too much utility. Koja Fox in some serious trouble here. It's going to be close, but no, not enough damage. Grave gets the shield, gets another kill. God.
Yeah, it's not often.
Oh my God. All at one score. It's impossible to keep up with. Seahos is going to die on the flip side of this as well. Rat Squid doesn't even bother moving. Now Jungle is getting fed. This might be an 18-minute game. This is the type of pace we expect from an 18-minute game.
Yeah, and admittedly, going back to what J-Max said on the desk, like, this is kind of what you need if you are Team Khastik, because the other side still has Double Hunter, right? They scale incredibly well. You've got really good late-game team fight if you're Twig. You just need to make sure that if you're Team Khastik, that you are so far ahead that their late-game team fight does not matter. And when you are able to 1v2, as Grave has, you don't have too much to
Stewie's
worry
dead
about.
here. Gotta be. I don't think Koja Fox can do much about this. There's no Sanctified Field. No stun from Grave. Suppose it's not necessary. Just put me on a loop. Stewie's dead again. Grave gets another kill. Said that a few times so far this game.
Get the soundboard ready.
Yeah, I feel bad for Stewie. Just overheard after game one, a game one win for Team Twig. Stewie was like, man, I'm so happy I finally got to play. It was fun on All Run, actually being important. I actually had something to do that game. And then immediately the roles unswap. Grave back to duo, XD back to mid. Not saying that is the reason, but could be a factor. And Stewie falls to 0-4 on All Run. I know the early game is rough on that character, but this has been something else. 4 levels down, goodness.
Yeah, it is not.
There's 3 levels in solo.
Not a good spot to
Doesn't get any better there.
right now if you are Captain Twig's team.
Everyone is 2 levels down.
And it's honestly, I don't necessarily see it getting much better. The good news is that like objective, like they don't have a carry. They don't have like a traditional hunter, right? So you are going to be missing out on a few things that you would otherwise have that would benefit. The ability to take down towers that a hunter is going to bring over the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that would be really important. The ability to run and burn down a Gold Fury is going to be a little lacking on Team Khastik. But when you have enough of a lead, it's not this, oh, we can't burn it fast enough. It's, okay, we're going to burn it, and if they step to us, we're so far ahead, we're going to kill them. And that's what I imagine might happen here.
Yeah, XD. Notice how there's not been much fighting in mid, but XD, the classic Nuwa.
1-0-6.
1-0-6. That is just the way of the road when your team is doing this well. Run the soundboard back one more time, except this time it's C-Host. Falls prey to Grave. 7-1 on the Zhang Kui. This is what Twig, I think, wanted from the Zhang Kui. It was still a win in game 1, but my God, I don't think you want to pull them back there. Finally, a kill drops for Team Twig, but XD finishes off Stewie with a nice ultimate there from the Nuwa. And Koja Fox will be chased down here once more as well. This is when these games just start going a bit sideways.
That teleport helped him so much. Koja Fox was dead to rights if that teleport doesn't go off, because everybody was swarming. Luckily, the pad and the timing was perfect, so it's just a Terra that follows.
Elder hovering around. I've not seen the Fear No Evil do much this game, Gore. I think Elder is resigned to not ganking.
It just hadn't really
not ganking any of these lanes.
Anything.
Fellas, I'm farming. And that's it. 1 kill on the board for the duo lane. 1 each for Team Twig. Goose eggs. Owen for everyone else. Not often you get to see the full net worth division chart like that, Gore. Full blue on top of red. You don't get to see it too often, but
because normally, and this is, guys, this is the real sign of things going bad for a team. If your support is doing better in net worth than anybody on their team, and if I'm looking at this right, by 700 gold,
yeah, decent.
That's a lead. Like, that's a lead right there, and there's only so much you can do about it.
Is there? I'm not sure there's anything.
You hold on, pray that you get to level 20 and can get some gold in your pockets.
Yeah, well, we're on like level 20 watch now for Grave, who's
dig your heels in and
pray. I'm looking at Grave, level 15 at 13 minutes.
He keeps getting
could be one
for a fight.
Yeah, could be one of the fastest level 20s we've seen. I forgot who it was. I shouted out someone yesterday for hitting level 20 at, I think it was 19 minutes. 740 or so XP per minute for Grave. Breakneck pace, especially as the fighting continues. It sure does. Rat Squid with an ultimate up and over. C-Host, some safety in the Charon. Koja Fox trying his best. It's been a lot of Fafnir Dragon trying to clean up a kill at points in this game, and only one of them so far has dropped. Leave Grave safely over with Stewie, a 5-level, 6-kill lead. It's that awkward time early in the game, Gore, where I was going to say it's just neutral objectives for Team Khastik, but this is the Twig shot calling we've come to know and love. A Pyromancer for Team Twig. Not something I thought I was going to be saying at any point in the near future, but a neutral objective makes a small dent in an otherwise massive lead. Okay, and
oh my God. I don't even think he needed to ult.
The stun alone is enough to break me this morning. Seahost, unfortunately, won't get the revive either. Fury, still a minute away, so not much for Team Khastik to do. Yeah. See, this is the issue with the 18-minute game, though, Gore. You're getting a lot of kills. It's the lack of then tower push, yeah. Right. You got to open up a Phoenix, then get a deicide underneath one of the Phoenixes, and then, you know, if you have, it requires a very specific checklist to get there. A lot of it's checked. I mean, we still got a few more minutes. We've officially reached that point in the game. I want to see it again from Grave. That was not a lot of damage. A couple tanky targets in front of you.
If Grave had ult right now, he'd be fighting 1v4.
Yeah. We saw Twig try to do it in game 1. But we go again. And I'll let you take a guess on who's going to win this fight. It's the team who's up 10k gold. XD just one-shotting backliners. Use half HP anyway. Ignore that part. And Rat Squid and the rest of the boys soon in to follow. All right, Gore, more checkboxes. We're going to have an exposed Phoenix here shortly. And 3 minutes to get it done.
The problem is, and again, this is why they need this lead, which is, look how long that tower took. And admittedly, it's also 15.5 minutes. So maybe that tower is going to take long no matter what was going on. But realistically, I do think like the issues they're going to come into is sieging, right? It's going to be,
yeah, you gotta
hey,
be
we
under
need to knock
the
down the
Phoenix.
tier 2s. We need to burn down a Phoenix. That's where that Pyromancer would have been really helpful if you were Team Khastik, but the first one going the way of Team CaptainTwig means that you're missing out on a Runic Bomb, so it's a little more difficult to burn down a Phoenix right now, especially a tier 2, things like that, without any sort of asset like that. You're winning mainly on the fights. Also, someone needs to, yeah, there we go, actually like tank it up and burn it down, but this is the problem that you're running into.
What,
Luckily, you've got that going for you, where you just look at someone and they die.
Yeah. If looks could kill. Team Khastik is giving some dirty ones this game. Another one for Runda. Santa Primal Fury to boot. All right, so I'm still on level 20 watch for Grave. It's slowed down a little bit. 17 at 16.5 minutes. Obviously, it's going to take a little longer to climb up. 770, still really high XP per minute. Actually, Rat Squid now maybe in the lead to reach level 20 earliest in this game. The jungler, I suppose when you're this far ahead and literally no one can kill you, and you have more of the map at your disposal, you are going to end up taking the lead.
Yeah.
Elder is on the wrong side of things. Goes blink for blink for blink. A stun maybe? Nope, Rat Squid's there. Goodbye. And I'm thinking, Gore, we're going to get a pretty fast couple level 20s here. And I actually think, yeah, Malachi can just do this on his own as well. Will do it on his own.
That's crazy.
So how you been, Gore?
Man,
how you been?
I'm trying to figure out what, like, my brain's scrambling to, like,
yeah,
where to look, what to go for.
There's nothing here, man. They have steamrolled Team Twig from the get-go.
I am impressed.
This is good by us, because we talked about lane pressure right off the rip.
Yeah. Thank God.
About how Twig felt he was on the back foot in his lane, and how Stewie and Koja Fox have been under tower.
3-0 and 13 matching for XD001 and Malachi, like.
Yeah, but this right. You know, maybe actually decent by Rat Squid there. A couple more of those shots.
Rat Squid's trying to hit 20. Rat Squid.
We're not almost 18 minutes, and I think
Rat
Squid's got to be careful.
Oh, never mind. You've got Oh my God!
Yeah.
I know, it's 4 levels. I know he's got a crazy build, but that is insane to me that is doing that much damage.
Was it? Maybe see a tower dive here. So I'll hold on. So I do have to do some play-by-play.
Have you already hit the quota?
Yeah, I think I have. I've done my day's work already in game number 2. As unexciting as the play-by-play is, it's essential. Twig 0-5. What was the SPL game? Remember, it was years ago. Maybe I'll time this a little bit better. As Malachi has pulled FG while the rest of the team is on the Pyromancer. It'll be the 18.5-minute Fire Giant. This may give Rat Squid and the rest of the squad level 20. We're at 18:45, so it's getting close to the level 20 we saw in one of the sets earlier on this weekend. Koja Fox desperate for a steal, but again, it's a Fafnir. Not much you can do. Koja Fox will get silent, stunned, pushed away. Elder leaps away. Fire Giant finalized by Team Khastik. And level 20 for Rat Squid, I think it was right at 19 minutes. A breakneck pace.
Just now.
And just now for Grave. And so Ratsquid just beats him to the punch. But do you really want to... This is awkward. I don't think you want to pull Grave back towards your team if you're Twig.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue. Actually, this.
Oh, he has no cooldowns. Yeah, I got so used to Grave just killing everyone. Him without cooldowns was surprising. Unfortunately, the rest of Team Khastik also fed. And so Ratsquid nosedives through. XD finishes off the kill. And 14,000 gold lead culminates in a massive two-man stun in mid. Ratsquid a double, and 7 kills in a row.
They're just playing clean, and like, look, it's.
I don't think
there's actually a certain point where you can play dirt. I mean, we just saw at Grave. That was not like clean by any means. But when you have enough of a lead, you can just kind of get things done in a way that you otherwise are just not enabled to. Luckily for Twig, Grave doesn't kill him very quickly, and that's what keeps that going for them. Is the Twig's able to actually go up? But you had kind of mentioned it. Like Twig's ult has been a detriment this game, not necessarily because he's
got to jump the other way.
But it's because like if he pulls them, no matter where he pulls them, like they're gonna land next to you, and they're just gonna kill you. That's why he's 1 in 6. If you throw him near your team, good luck everybody else. Like you're not really getting the follow up. Luckily, you finally shut down at least one of them. You put a 3rd kill on the board. But when there's 35 kills in the game, and you've got 3 of them, you've got a little more work, cut out for you to really catch up. Luckily, hey, look, they're level 20. You're gonna close that experience gap, no problem. Gold gap,
Chesterfield.
You're like in the zone, If you can get Stewie with ult and relics and 2 more items and not getting isolated and targeted immediately.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a great job for CaptainTwig. Great time for them if they can get there.
Gore, you're good at your job. You found a silver lining in there somehow.
Hey, Double Hunter goes hard. They can clear up towers. They just need actually like 2 fights, and they're realistically way, completely into the game again.
I forget which way the game was. Elder, well-timed beads, but answered back by Ratsquid. Ooh. No DOT. Elder's gonna survive. Had to use everything, but Ratsquid did as well. Still has Blink. And may have the game-ending fight here as Team Khastik group up, put themselves together, a few ultimates ready to boot. Grave has Blink, has Aegis. Has an early assist, though, but XD trades out, drops. Decent defense here from Team Twig, but it's only a matter of time before Rundus and Grave really spin up. 3 for 3? I've had a hard time following this one. A triple kill for Rundus. Twig jumps away, and Gore, that might be enough damage off the board on the defense from Team Twig to keep this game alive.
You got fire minions. You've got Oni fire minions about to come in.
Ratsquid is strong.
You're pretty tanky. You've got your rat and a 2v1. If you can kill Twig here, you win this game.
Yeah. Twig's going to have the fountain reset, however. Slight bit of healing. Fire minions rolling through. C-Host up in 2 seconds. Wow, this game,
they have to fall back.
This game is going to go on. Gore, I fully admit, didn't see what happened there. I think this is maybe the culmination of the close range comp that Khastik have. You have to dive the Phoenix. It's not like you have a super long range fed ADC. Grave had to go in, and Team Twig was able to burn him down.
Goes to show, and much like you had said, where their defense can land and stay, and it does give you a little bit of hope if you're a Team Captain. They doubled their kills right there. I mean, that was insane for them.
I have to reset my brain.
It's just that awkward time where you've been so far down, you have not been competing in any terms of the matter when it comes to kills, and you've got 2 Phoenixes down, right? So yes, you get your kills. Yes, that actually looks really good, and in theory, get 1 more of those, and you might be back in this game, especially with a Fire Giant if you can time it well. But getting that secondary and then fighting back from the scenario we're in, that's really where the challenge comes into. Time's starting to play in your favor. The items are starting to play in your favor. Your carries are finally getting to the point where they can actually do carry things. And if you can stop Grave and Ratsquid, and actually, surprisingly enough, but Rundus, from getting specifically onto C-Host or Stewie, if you can keep them away from them or at least keep them alive through the dive, then you've got way more of a fighting chance than you had 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, Sanctified Fields feels real bad to fight into. Team Khastik have been able to kind of scrap one-on-one, alone, around it throughout most of this game. Again, now you're having to group and fight in it. Fire Giant started up by Khastik. I think, yeah, Team Twig smart enough here to avoid this one. Still not enhanced. So a little breathing room. If this one somehow doesn't end the game, maybe Team Twig considering stepping forward for the next one. But for now, Team Twig will pick their battles. And the battle they've chosen is beneath the mid lane Phoenix that's back. Just a little bit of health, though. An auto or two from someone will clean that one up. Instead, Khastik really grouping up over here on the right. Remember, Rat Squid can go up and over at any point with that ultimate and could surprise Team Twig.
I like this split.
There you go.
Yeah, with Rat Squid going up, I think this is going to cause a lot of trouble. It just depends on who he's going to target. Oh my god!
Yeah, if you blinked, you missed it. I couldn't see who he targeted because he was dead already. At C-Host plus Elder equals 2. This is the fight we were expecting from Team Khastik. Grave tossed aside, but the rest of the team is here to help this time, and I'm not sure that death matters. More just mental for Koja Fox at this point. Though again, the health slightly low. Are we delaying the inevitable once more for Team Twig? We've now pulled back a few kills. Twig is on a killing spree despite a horrendous start to this game. Now a lot of the damage is dead once again. All 3 Phoenixes are down. Left side will respawn here in just a moment. Koja Fox gets up and over the wall. Team Khastik with 3, but 2 kills for Team Twig, or keeps this thing close.
And specifically killing off the primary damage dealers, right? I thought sieging was going to be difficult. They managed to keep all the Phoenixes down. Left side's going to come up, but with fire minions, you should be able to put some pressure. I don't know, the respawns from CaptainTwig might just save this bird. And
sure does.
Realistically, the issue is that you've got Twig and Koja Fox doing pretty much the thing they're designed to do, which is I'm going to outlive the carries and get enough abilities off in that life just to make sure that you are punished for it.
I mean, Twig's full build now.
And that's
Who cares, you know? Who cares about the early game?
You had mentioned he's got a killing streak as well. Like, he's doing pretty good for servers that was like 0-5 at one point. And now you're really opening up the doors for specifically the Charon, although we saw Sehos got deleted in an instant. And Stewie, who also we have seen can get deleted in an instant. But you've got an ultimate that keeps you and gives you death immunity, and you can even revive if you can get a kill on one of those. You got Sanctified Fields and your beads on the other, which is when Oleron is feeling pretty much the most invincible. If they are going to fight into you, which they're going to have to, that's kind of what their goal is right now. Twig with another defense can open things up. Then you have to, talk about the map state and look at what they have to do afterward. But right now, focused on the defense, they could really make a stand.
Yeah, it's just this downfall of a Zhang Kui that has to go in. Has to get in to do his damage. That means he's dying, but can he do enough damage before he dies? Rat Squid, a rare miss with his ultimate. Koja Fox alone in the backline. Could be the end of Fafnir. Is the end of the Charon over in mid. Rundus will clean up the kill on left. Again, it's Team Twig, down to 3 members, trying to defend.
This is when they're at their strongest.
Still have Sanctified Field. But Team Khastik is at full strength, wandering into the Titan room with maybe one more fight to go. Stun onto Twig. Malachi down to half HP. Remember, this is just to prevent a game 3, but keep your eyes on the Titan. That's really where the fight is here. Sanctified Field, the saving grace. But the inevitable arrives as we cross the 50-kill threshold in game 2. And on to game 3 we go. Single-digit kills for Twig. Just over 40 for Team Khastik.
Yeah, so the real quick breakdown of that one was Team CaptainTwig gets rolled over.
Yep.
And then eventually they have enough items that they can make defenses. that's pretty much the way, like, that is the over-under of what that game was.
And Dave has to reset his brain.
Yeah.
You go so far. You go so far down the these fights are over before they start, like, line.
Yeah.
That really catches you off guard when you're like, wait a second.
They are actually getting kills on the other side.
Right, you're like, wait a second. I actually have to.
I don't know if anyone can blame you for looking at a 32-3 and thinking,
someone will.
This fight might be a little one-sided.
Someone out there will. It's you. I'm watching you. Don't you blame me. How did we get there? Lane pressure early.
Lane pressure.
Just spiral.
Twig and the duo lane, like, they literally could not leave their tier 1, and then we saw one trade kill that then turned into 2 kills that went towards Grave, that went into another 2 kills towards Grave. Like, all the ganks that happened towards that Zhang Kui where he just kind of laughed him off and killed everybody, that didn't put you in a great spot either.
Yeah, Stewie was, again, talking about how much fun he had in Game 1. Probably not echoing that statement here in Game 2. On to Game 3 we go. One more, winner take all. This time, it's Khastik v Twig in Game number 3.
Hello, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. We missed you. We got Game 3 now because, boy, Game 2 wasn't real great if you're if you're a Team CaptainTwig fan. It was a game. That was a game of Smite. I can confirm that at the bare minimum that was played, but JMac, it didn't go great.
No, so 10 players loaded into that lobby, and 5 of them got to really got to Smite.
Yeah, 5
and
of them played, and 1 got to be ZDC.
Yeah, and the other 5 players experienced Smite happening to them.
Yeah,
it was not a fun time to be on CaptainTwig's team that game. I'd say probably the worst end of players who got to feel the punishment was Stewie over in that duo lane. Look, we got into the picks and bans to this one. We got into the pregame discussion to this, and I had mentioned that for Team Khastik to win game number 2, they had to get ahead early, and they had to win the game by about 25 minutes. And I put a kind of a I want to say I put a reasonable bar out there and said about 7,000 gold.
I thought you were going to say a curse on them.
I was going to say they need to be about 7,000 gold up by 25 minutes, and they'll have a much better chance of winning the game. What I didn't expect was for them to be 20,000 gold up at 25 minutes, because then there's no chance for CaptainTwig to come back unless Team Khastik literally throws about 4 or 5 team fights in a row at the Titan like they almost did.
I was going to say, they did get kind of close to. It was nerve-wracking for a moment there.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest kinds of games to break down because it was just unrelenting brawling.
And it shouldn't have worked the way it did, either.
For some reason, moving Jean-Qui to a lane with another person just makes him that much better. I don't know if this was just the grave diff in general or if this Jean-Qui really was something going through. Elder maybe not being able to kind of play on a more comfortable god that they're used to, like the Camazots, might have been a little bit of it, but
that's mean.
Yeah, this was basically just a game that Team Khastik loaded into. They unbound any key that wasn't W, their abilities, and left and right click, plus a relic.
Item store. Don't forget item store.
Yeah, oh yeah, you gotta get the item store. By the way, 5 blinks on Team Khastik. That's how you know that this was a W key team. Yeah. Is every single player decided to go blink, including the mid laner
and fail not on Chalk too.
Yeah,
right at the very end.
We did mention. I don't remember if we mentioned it on camera, if it was off screen. The ability now for all classes or all physical classes. Let me preface that: all physical classes to now be able to purchase Erendite and Fail Not. We kind of speculated maybe some ideas that like a Circuit could really use Fail Not well just because of the cooldown, the crit percent chances, the power, all that stuff that is afforded from that item. But seeing it on Chalk, I wouldn't necessarily build it on Chalk because I don't think he really gets a whole lot of value besides the 20% CDR and the power that comes from it. Crit Chalk doesn't really care about. And that's really, I mean, I guess the pen is always a nice little kind of treat to add in there, but when you're that far ahead in the game, you can build pretty much anything you want at that point. When you're 20k up, and what was it at one point, like 10, 15 minutes?
It was
of the
getting
game,
pretty dire. Yeah.
It pulled up the net worth chart, and it was all Team Khastik on top and all CaptainTwig's team on the bottom, and that should have been the clear division point of things are about to get really ugly, and it got really ugly. So now what do you do for game number 3? You completely throw it out the window and just have yourself a nice little mental reset. If I'm coming out of that game, I go, man, we got owned. All right, what's next? What are we doing? I don't think there's anything necessarily that needs to be banned because, like, they didn't draft a hunter. They just drafted a bunch of gods to W key you. So you either need to draft to match the W key or have a better draft to kind of counter the W key of being able to sit back and play a little bit more passively. Because that was a great team composition for CaptainTwig squad. To when they hit 25, 30 minutes, as long as they're close enough in gold, they should win by merit of just the gods themselves. Oleron, Cerberus, those are gods that are just going to help you absolutely own team fights late game. The problem is you can't own anything except for, I can't even say your own life when you're 20,000 gold down at that point.
Yeah, you gotta try to own picks and bans.
They own the grayscale. Like,
that
belonged to them.
They had an absolute monopoly over seeing things in black and white. Really incredible category to have it in, but picks and bans is in front of us. The Charybdis remains a constant. Nobody wants to mess with it. I am curious if we will see a ZDC ban, or if it's like you throw it over your shoulder, or maybe you look to first pick it, because that did look pretty decent for you in game number 1.
The Chalk ban from Team Khastik. They played it. They ran the map with it. They don't want Team CaptainTwig to have that same level of pressure. Also banning the Camazotz.
Yeah, they saw the same thing we did, where it's, we've clearly set Elder off of some comfort. Let's continue that and see what else Elder can work out, because I have to imagine that despite having to throw out that game mentally, as you mentioned, you're not going to want to go back to the Hoonbots.
The Hoonbots is still, I think, a really strong god. It's just that he takes a little bit of time to ramp up his damage value. Really late game, it does become about the CC. In almost any situation in late game as a Hunbatch, you never want to use your second ability unless you just know that they can't jump away, that they can't press Aegis or anything else to escape you from it, and that's like the final blow of a kill, and they're like just out of auto range. But Hunbatch is still fine. I mean, Fear No Evil is one of the best team fighting ultimates in the entire game. Just very few gods can compete with the ability to drop a giant circle on the map of no playfield, essentially, for a few seconds. So, still some relevancy there. The Camazotz obviously probably would have been the more optimal pick for Elder to go towards, but will be the Zhong Kui that you mentioned. Now, game 1 is CaptainTwig on this pick. And he did a whole lot of damage, similar to what we saw from Gray, but his kill column didn't look nearly as pretty. But still was getting the job done, and still was kind of playing that CaptainTwig style of play. So we'll see if this one goes back into the hands of Twig, if we see the Zhong Kui ADC once more, if we see it flex over towards the mid lane. Still some options and some potential for the Zhong Kui. He's one of those gods where, like, you wish... Zhong Kui is... I mean, I think every god in the game would love to have 3 relics, but Zhong Kui is one of the premier, I wish I could have a 3rd relic god, because you want Blink to be able to get in a team fight, drop your ultimate. You want Beads because you don't have any CC Immunity kit, but you also want Aegis because when you blink to the backline and are about to get hit by 3 ultimates in your face, you want to have Aegis to immune all of that while still dealing your damage. So Zhong runs into that unfortunate bar where you either have to go for your double safety and Beads Aegis, or you give up your safety for aggression and blink.
Ratatasker, being hovered, has shown to be a highly valued character this weekend, which makes plenty of sense. We talked about it a million times. We've really beat the Rad to the ground with the idea of it's a character who is just feeling great right now. The item changes, the health changes, everything felt good for Rat, but you know, as I say that, it looks like the interest might shift for Team Khastik. I really thought that would be a priority to grab that Ratatasker up, but instead Herc, the first pick for Team Khastik, and on her, the second pick. A character who we've not seen this weekend that feels like one of the ADCs that, you know, doesn't stand out to me personally as much as some others on the table, and perhaps more importantly, this has opened the door for Team CaptainTwig to now hover the Rat.
Herc on her, pretty strong combo for Team Khastik, some flexibility with the Hercules as well. We traditionally just see it over in that solo lane, really strong warrior to be able to box over there, decent self-sustain. But as a support, and even as a jungler, has a lot of viability as well. Herc support essentially plays the same way that Herc solo would. You build super tanky, you get a good bit of CDR in your kit, and you just become that initiator for your team. Jungle Herc can do a lot of damage if you build him right, so I'd love to see maybe where this one lines out. Opposite side, Rat and the Cerberus going once more. Cerberus can go solo, can go support. Guess it just really depends on where the Zhong Kui wants to land. If you want to throw him over into a side lane, or if you want to throw him in the mid lane. Fenrir being hovered doesn't matter. Throw it to Cirquet. I think either of those would have been fine. I think Cirquet I like a little bit more just because of the nature of the bursty meta right now.
Yeah, Fenrir felt
the
good to go
Reaver.
after Zhong. Cirquet feels good against the team of CaptainTwig so far.
It's also the CC and just the quick burst damage. Fenrir with Brutalize, there's a couple of easy ways to be able to stop Brutalize. It's a lot harder to stop Cirquet. In this case, if you're the Zhong Kui or the Ratatasker, if you're getting taunted back by Cirquet with that Cobra's Kiss, unless you're heavily DR'd by that point, it's unlikely that the taunt duration ends by the time Deathbane finishes, so you're not going to be able to really stop that damage. Plus, crit's just really good. Cirquet can also build pretty tanky and still do a decent bit of damage, but it's more than anything just beads pressure along with the Hercules. Those two gods alone offer so much threat to this Zhong Kui's life, to this Ratatasker as well. So I really like the combination that Team Khastik has put together so far, but need to see some of the magic damage now. What is their mid laner going to be? If you look at history of mid laners that are still up, Nuwa has surprisingly made its way through as this long as it's been. XD01 has been enjoying going to that pick. Wouldn't be surprised if we see that just be the next default option for Team Khastik, though Team CaptainTwig can also take that pick away if they want. Yu Huang, an option available. Ishel, Got to throw a note there where Isha was being banned earlier on the week, then seeing some top pick priority.
Oh, and she made it through.
Now has gone unchecked again, as it's 3 more Guardians banned away along with a Marty.
Oh, let's go. Come on.
Look, I said it yesterday. I love Kumba Karn. I think Kumba Herc are two of the wildest picks you can throw onto a composition for how much pressure they have. But, man, it is not fun if you fall behind as a Kumba Karn. If you fall behind as Kumba, you might have one of the worst recoveries back into a game of any god in Smite. It's a very risky pick. You have an insane amount of CC and setup for your team. But if you fall even, I'm going to say, 2 levels behind, good luck, because it is a living nightmare for you to come back into the game.
All right, the Giannis lock-in. You know, you were looking for... I know yesterday there was a lot of talk about when we saw the Kumba. You were bringing up a lot of the Charybdis really makes the Kumba Karna's life difficult, just how fast that passive goes down. It becomes like Kumba doesn't even have a passive to begin with. While not a major factor, it definitely isn't as bad into this now selected composition of Team CaptainTwig. But more interestingly to me, the Kleena ADC potential, as Assassins have been showing up in a lot of high-level ranked in that ADC role, and also in a lot of the higher levels of competition in Amateur Leagues. Forget it. Forget the Kleena. We'll go back. Anubis, baby! I got my wish. No more hovers. The torture from Team Khastik is over. We get the Goobus.
The smiling point there from XD001 as well, Mr. Shadowlugia, bringing out the Anubis on the last game for these two teams in the Smite Content Creator Cup. And honestly, looking at this one, it's still not the funnest composition for an Anubis to play into. Jean-Qui will be able to stun him out of that Plague of Locusts. The Cerberus is going to get a lot of value from the heal. Anti-heal going to be the name of the game for Team CaptainTwig. But outside of really the Zhong and the Rat having to get super close, this Anubis probably doesn't worry about too much of the CC really affecting him. My big worry just does come down to this is a hard team to fight back if you fall behind for Team Khastik. Anubis ahead, monster. Deals an insane amount of damage. It is really difficult to fight Anubis when he's got a couple levels up on you, has those first couple items online, similar to Kumba Karn. If he can get a lead, you're probably not killing him anytime soon.
Right.
Team CaptainTwig, though, now falls into the similar boat that Team Khastik did last game. They don't have a Hunter. They don't have ranged physical damage. This is a team comp for Team CaptainTwig that needs to win early and win hard. And more than anything, I don't even necessarily think that they need to win as hard as Team Khastik did or needed to in the first game. I think they just need to put behind the Anubis and the Kumba Karn. And if they can keep those two at bay and keep those two down, the rest of the team kind of, not necessarily falls apart, but it doesn't pick them back up enough.
Yeah, there's no regain.
There isn't as much synergy with this team as it could have been with the previous squad for Team Khastik. So if Team Khastik can just weather the storm, keep the Anubis alive, keep your Kumba Karna even, or maybe only a level down, you're fine. But late game, that's where Team Khastik's team is going to shine. The Circuit's going to get the big early picks that you need. If I'm even looking at Team CaptainTwig, man, I have to try.
I was just going to say, my biggest concern personally is Stewie. I'm really looking at somebody who's had a really tough weekend on the ADC role, has had a hard time securing his own purple buffs at time. Now you're on a Kleena who can feel great if you're taking fights and being able to win them quickly against that on her, sure. But if you start getting dove again, if you've got what we saw happen with Ragna, where the on her is walking at your purple, walking it through your tower, you could be in some serious trouble.
Man, you're already locking in the clean ADC. I was trying to see if there was any other team comp that would really kind of...
I feel like they can't send it to ADC. I can't get behind that idea right now. I don't feel like it feels like Stewie this weekend.
Yeah, the Jean-Qui ADC probably doesn't pan out as well for Team CaptainTwig this time. So it probably is the Jean-Qui solo. You throw the Kleena Cerberus together and then Giannis over in the mid lane. We've seen wilder things. We've literally seen Giannis support have moments in SPL history. We'll see where Team CaptainTwig likes to pull these things out.
We'll see if they can do it, and they need to. Game 3 on the horizon with Dulcet and Gormizer. Over to you guys.
That's right, one final game between these two squads. In Gormizer, we get a little fun going into game number 3. I'm always a big fan of Giannis, but on the other side of the mid lane, an Anubis. Twig trying to get some revenge in game 3. He's playing the Jean-Qui over in Soul Lane. You can take your pick.
Man, it's like a battle for my heart, right? Twig is just going back to what we saw in game 1. I'll leave him off the list of this one. It is going to be the snipes that Sehost can throw out. How good those are is going to determine how much I enjoy the Giannis, as well as just good portals in general. I want to say aggressive nature, but like good aggressive from an Anubis always can win me over. And again, he's someone who I think that right now could have a lot of damage in a very, very short amount of time. And how he levels will also kind of dictate, I think, a little bit about what he wants. Because, like, the smart thing to do, and this is just true in general, you would level your 3. Because what happens with your 3 in Anubis? Oh, you can throw it out at a distance. You don't have to stand there. You don't have to get near the minion wave, or at least not as near as the Plague of Locusts. And so the smart thing is to level that and focus on your clear early. What I do anyway, despite knowing and acknowledging that, is I focus on Plague of Locusts and the Mummify, because I think, well, if I kill you, then I could farm still. So I'm curious how this is going to go. And of course, Anubis, like, the damage is going to take a little bit to get online. It does come online pretty good, or pretty early in comparison to some other mages, but he's going to, you know, not burn as much as you would expect, especially when you get the lifesteal. You know, his passive is good for it and his survivability, but after 2-3 items, I think we'll get to see his, like, true final form. I'm also really, like... Kleena? I mean, that's cool. You do you.
That was Kleena ADC.
Gets a lot in the range department here, though.
Yeah, you would think. Well, in Gore, that's been such an issue. Granted, last game it was a bit mitigated because Grave was so fed on the Zhonghui.
Yeah.
But we have talked about the rangeless carries. Not rangeless. The range... small range carries at points throughout this set. We had the ring build Yorm, which was fun, but had to get really close. Zhonghui, I mean, yeah, you do a lot of damage, but as your ADC, you're losing that far range assault damage. Kleena's got to go in as well. So there's the potential. But it keeps these team fights a bit more interesting. I always just think every time we see a Giannis locked in, I feel for us dual Paladins, Smite casters, because it's Giannis and Genos.
Yeah.
And then it is
even better for the ultimate.
Through space and time and through time and space. What a dream. And now I can't remember which is which.
And you know what? Okay, so this happens to me every
time
single
and space is
time and
Genos.
Space
is Giannis, maybe.
It's Giannis, I think.
That's perfect for us.
No.
It's an early kill for Team Khastik, nonetheless.
Just go by instinct. Whatever comes out when he ults, that's the one.
Yeah, well, he's still at level 4, so I got a little bit of time, but C-Host may have to wait a little longer. CaptainTwig! Oh, he doesn't get the DOT. Close, though. Rat Squid on first blood alongside his mid laner.
Rat Squid stays too long?
Yeah, he has no mana.
Yeah, he's
Through
close.
space and time.
Space and time.
I can't remember if I got it backwards.
Oh, we got it wrong. You got it right the first time. I made you second.
Wait. C-Host did just get his ultimate.
Yeah, shoot him.
Rat Squid still is in mid and does not have any mana.
Shotgun blast. Find it. Where is he?
Let it rip.
Straight down mid.
Although the minions are going to spot him out.
Hit him with the minions anyway.
Ooh.
Nope.
Oh, he's going back to the right. Oh! It's close. I don't know if that would have killed him anyway, but it would have been close. Close. Rat Squid's laughing. He realized that buff in the back corner there nearly got him taken down. So when it's all said and done, about a minute and a half later, it's just the one kill first blood for Rat Squid.
Gonna be honest, kind of forgot about the first blood part. Was really focused on the Giannis ult.
Yeah, you and I are debating Genos versus Giannis, and Elder walks in to die, used his beads, and C-Host now dies.
That's the power of an Anubis at level 5.
That's right.
You need a Mummify, and that usually is going to be enough to get the job done once you have your ult. Because you can, you know, hands Mummify ult, and if you don't burn them through that, then you shouldn't have been attacking them anyway.
Yep. Well, remember, this is how game 2 started for Khastik. They got these early kills, started to pile on a little bit. This time it's jungle and mid instead of duo lane and solo lane. But I've been impressed by Rat Squid this weekend. Obviously having some fun in the Smite Content Creator Cup, but I still had some impressive games. Last game on the Ratatosker knew how to push that lead. Let's see what the Circuit can get done. Speaking of Ratatosker, it's Elder at level 5. Up and over he goes. Down onto XD, who does not have beats. Started Blink on the Anubis. and Team Twig on the board.
Got to talk about how brave it is to start Blink on Anubis, no matter what, but also in the face of a lot of CC. And admittedly, it's not the easiest to hit CC, and it's not the most consistent CC, so maybe that's why you could afford it. But if that Blink isn't getting used often, I guess, you're really going to have to start wondering then, okay, would it have been more worthwhile to just have another Relic there? But you get a clean kill. That's going to show, I think, the dichotomy that is mid lane, where it's a little harder to hit some of your damage if you're the honest, but you can get away easier. And you can do a lot of damage if you're Anubis, but you can get killed way easier. So it's this push and pull, this ebb and flow.
The dichotomy of it all.
How are they going to handle it?
Right. Seahost has already used his ult. We'll take it through the wall. XD uses that blink now. In range of Seahost. Another fight happening over on right. Oh, Petrifying Gaze just does not have the range.
On the fight. Here it comes. Wrap. Nope. Hands.
Oh, almost. Nope, but Seahost will live to fight another day. In the meantime, Ratsquid with his second kill of the game, this time on to Elder. Is that a solo kill under a tier 1 over on left? We'll return to that in just a moment. Ratsquid, oh no, he's under pressure. It's Koja Fox with the massive rotation in. A kill for himself and hands one over to Twig. And Team Twig needed that because over on left, Graves snags a solo over Stewie and pulls a 2-level lead.
So, game 2, game 3, so far at least, Koja Fox and Twig are like the thing that's really stabilizing a lot of this squad. When things are going wrong, you know, that fight falls so far out of their hands, and they manage to keep it together just because of a couple of kills, and it's always coming from the tanks that are having a little more trouble, or at least that Team Khastik is having a little more trouble burning through, especially at this point in the game. And so you've got a note already of what you can expect as the survivability, but also something to maybe work for if you're Team Khastik, which is overextensions or staying too long in that instance when you've already kind of won the fight, trying to get a good disengage, as well as kind of acknowledging that you're going to have to learn how to kill the tanks or focus the tanks, or maybe you can just ignore it. You still won game 2. It just took you about 10 minutes longer than it really maybe needed to.
See where the scaling goes here this time around.
I want to see Seahost get so many snipes.
I know.
That's all
Agreed.
I want. Anytime there's a snipe character, it's the easiest thing to root for.
Do you think Giannis is simultaneous, just on potential? Let's see what Rundus does here before I go off on a tangent. Gotta reel myself in. Good portal from Seahost, stun onto Rundus. Wow, we're using a lot to kill off the Hercules. We're not gonna be able to do so if we're Team Twig. Rundus left scurrying, but there's the damage from CaptainTwig. Thought it might have been Seahost, but no. There's an answer back. XD left alone. Seahost thanks him for the free kill just around the corner. And if Koja Fox, can dodge out here, a great fight for Seahost. This is what Giannis brings, Gory. You can leave a fight, you can rejoin a fight, and deal some damage from range. Great fight. 7.5 minutes into game 3 for Team Twig.
Yeah, there's a point, and this is really going to be a momentum shift, is when XD001 gets the lifesteal online, right? Already starting the tree. When you finish that as an Anubis, you go from this, you know, hard hitter, easy to kill guy to a hard hitter, slightly harder to kill guy.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily like you're going to gain a ton from it, but because you're getting so much lifesteal back, it plays with your passive. It plays with, in theory, if you're going to get Bancrofts and Typhons, you're going to be able to play with itself, so you can really build up your healing. We've seen Anubises go from virtually dead to full health off of a fight like that. And so that will be a big shift. I like the pressure that CaptainTwig's team is putting on them, knowing that they have that advantage now, knowing those items aren't going to be online, and finding those kills where they can.
Stewie has to use the beads. Malachi will rotate through as well. Root asleep onto Koja Fox, but won't end up mattering. The dual lane of Team Twig stays safe. Like the rotation here from Elder. Realize CaptainTwig has a little pressure. Steal away the blue buff. You know that the Khastik junglers over on the left side of the map. And steal away some of that right side jungle. So the small things that can make a difference. You're going to be looking for a kill here. Remember, it's Blink on Anubis. This is what it gets you. A great series of moments there, Gore, from Elder. But the fighting will fizzle out over on left. Loved what I saw from the Ratatosker in the last minute or so.
Yeah, I'm going to call that clinical. I mean, it was precise. Hey, we know where Anubis is. I'm going to knock up, you portal in, we'll have the damage, body block him from getting away. And then they executed exactly that plan. They knew what they needed. They knew what they had.
Ooh.
You might be able to get
Ooh,
something. Is the
nice.
damage going to tick through, though? That's the real question.
No. Ooh. No, it won't. No, it won't. 20 or so health, maybe 25, 27 was the lowest we saw C-Host go. Had to time that portal near perfectly as well.
Yeah, if you get punched once, you're dead.
Right. Again, good series of moments from Team Twig. Like the idea from Ratsquid, though. Try to find an answer. Because the Giannis is starting to get there, Gore.
Yeah.
2 levels up over the Anubis on the flip side. That blink was a major dice roll. Speaking of dice rolls, hope to see you in Vegas for a SMITE 2 event, January of 2025. But the dice roll has not quite paid off for XD just yet. Whereas C-Host has been the beneficiary of some great fights, off to a 3-1 start. Do more into a Spear of Desolation penetration online early in the build. Just keep playing around this mid lane. Team Twig seem to have that mentality.
And look, when the other guy's 1 and 4, and you know that he's going to be a huge power spike that you have to deal with, I like this pressure. It's also one of the easiest to kill. You know, if you go to Grave, like on her, has CC immunity in his ult. You are able to leap away as well. You look at Hercules. Honestly, we've seen more Hercules turn kills around on people that gank him as opposed to actually getting ganked. Serket's super mobile. Malachi has mobility as well as CC to help peel for himself. And so when it comes down to it, like, this Anubis is just a sitting duck. Like, you just walk up to him. If he's halfway up in the lane, you hit one form of CC on him, and he doesn't have bead still not level 12, so he can't pick it up. It's going to be a free kill, and that's what Elder's looking at.
Yeah, you have the small window.
Blink dash.
Scurries forward.
Doesn't have blink, as it turns out.
And didn't want to use dash. I like the mindset, though, Gore. That's the player in you. You're just, this is what I would do.
Just get in there, get the kill.
And then if I had beads and forgot that I didn't have blink, I would use my beads on accident.
Yep. And you just stand there glowing gold for a second.
That's right.
Everyone would look at you like a...
Then they'd laugh. Elder, though, does have ultimate. Where does he go? In defense of his solo laner, Team Khastik. Everyone over here on right. I'm not sure Twig was expecting that. He'll crash back down after an epic uppercut from Malachi. Hand delivers a kill. C-Host connects with no one on his ultimate. And Khastik have finally flipped the script on this Giannis. Lock him down and turn the kill right back. Twig had some really good fights over there towards Midgore, but Team Khastik a better group.
And I think it is, much like you said, CaptainTwig just unaware that there were 5 waiting for you in there. So you're all alone. Elder is in this awkward spot where it's like, well, I got to go in to try and help. Stewie's on the left side of the map, nowhere to be seen. And C-Host gets this opportunity of, well, I can ult, and then I can follow up with some damage, but by the time C-Host gets in there, Twig's already dead, Elder has to retreat, and now you're just a Giannis with your utility and your beads down, nowhere to go. Also does go blink for the second relic there, so it opens up this very difficult situation for you to get out of.
My mid laners getting blink.
And when there are 5 people around you, they just burn you down.
I say I love it, but...
I'm trying to figure out
the blink on the one side. I know.
Blink Giannis, huh?
Yeah.
Jonquay, get it. Rat, get it. Serket, get it. Anubis, I get it to an extent. I still think it should have been a second relic, though.
Twig wishes he had Aegis. Instead, he's got beads. Rundus plus Ratsquid equals a kill onto the Team Twig namesake. Low tier 1 tower. Koja Fox here as well. He'll have ultimate. Pulls Malachi right back. Elder either didn't have the stun or couldn't time it quite right. Then a mez for Malachi. Get him out safely. Oh, nice connection under Ratsquid, but it does not look like C-Host is interested in joining the party over on the right. Just a 1 kill over on the CaptainTwig. First Giannis ultimate we've seen, or I can really remember, connecting this game. A few close calls, but a little chunk of damage onto the Serket. Koja Fox starts to rotate around. I was wondering, I mean, it might not make any sense. I was wondering if Stewie and Koja Fox were also going to go blink if we were in for that type of game. Just everyone going to get blink. Koja Fox still might, but still level 10. Stewie has opted for the traditional relics for the ADCs. An interesting build notes. Grave has gone Rage on the Honor.
Super early.
Already a couple stacks. I like it.
Yeah, so there's a conversation around Rage.
I'm not saying it's good, but I like it.
But you like it. There's this weird conversation around Rage specifically because, like as far as stats go, it's actually not that bad on its own. But stacking it has always been a notorious problem. And we have seen countless players who are doing incredibly good. I'm thinking of very specific Panatom Mercury games. You know, your 4-0 start, you get your Rage third item, and then suddenly the stacks just stop coming. You don't get a single kill or assist or anything for the rest of it. So I like it a little earlier just to get it all.
Oh no. This should be easy for Team Twig over on right, because guess what? Khastik have pulled the Gold Fury and gotten a kill on left. A devastating last couple of seconds for Team Twig. Not only do you not get the kill on Rundus in a 2v1 over in solo lane, you also lose the Gold Fury. So Team Khastik group with less members over on left and have less members over on right. I don't know how that math works out. I'm probably wrong somewhere in there, but regardless, bad moments for Team Twig, and they're going to lose the Pyromancer as well.
I like that ult.
Yes, they will. Don't mind it from C-Host. Man, Twig's getting dove. Wow, this game has suddenly started to feel really awkward after a few minutes of feeling great for Team Twig.
And realistically, kill-wise, things aren't that out of control. It's the gold that's really kind of ballooned, and maybe you can get a kill here, but this is still a dangerous game to fight.
Desert Fury, but met with beads on the other end. Koja Fox sent his ult flying. Grave leaps away from the danger at his doorstep.
No shot.
Whoa, CaptainTwig from out of nowhere drops Grave, who had rotated over from duo lane. And Grave will grab one more stack for his Rage on an assist. Twig needed a little something. You know, again, a kill is not going to make all the difference in the world, but maybe a tier 1 tower dive does. Rundus pretty tanky, but there's the assistance of Elder, who immediately gets stunned underneath the tier 1, and Rundus drops the boulder. Goodness. Team Twig thinking they can get a kill, but instead it gets flipped.
You still lose Grave. Hurts, but the fight's gonna keep going.
Yeah,
although
we're going on.
So much lifesteal between the two of them, but a kill successful for Rundus.
Yeah, smiles. You imagine in the Team Twig team
go for
booth.
more.
C-Host just makes it through the portal, but Ratsquid has the leap. The ultimate from C-Host will get him out to safety, but hung out to dry is the rest of Team CaptainTwig. Ratsquid maybe in one more leap under the tower, looking for Koja Fox. Stewie is going to be behind the Team Khastik jungler. Here's Ratsquid, what a moment! Oh, the Aegis from Stewie, it's perfect. But Malachi's there on the mez, and man, those red health bars. Devastating sight for Team Twig.
Blown away. Ratsquid got out in the perfect time, and Malachi had just enough health to take the next shot. Really good trade, great poison spread, and good on Ratsquid. Look, Serket's mobile. Serket's incredibly mobile. It's almost impossible to keep up with the Giannis portal, but reading and chasing specifically C-Host at first, and then recognizing, guess where everybody else is going to be going? If they go through that portal, where are they going to run? They're going to run right to where you're at. So waiting a little deeper, letting the team kind of force and funnel the rest of CaptainTwig's team fight into that position, and then just playing a beautiful Serket moment. Pretty much exactly what you needed right there. And again, it keeps this lead growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
And that's the strength they really have. I mean, I'm looking at some tier 2s over tier nothings. They have nothing bought in those items. Some of them you've got finished tier 3s. It's a pretty massive advantage, at least in the build department right now for Team Khastik, especially with the contagion.
Despite being here in the third place match, Khastik is done pretty good at pushing some of those leads this weekend. Although I guess it was, what was it? My memory's already failing me. Was it Team Khastik had a massive lead against Team Rudy, and then Rudy won, or Khastik? Either way, we've had some back and forth games. But despite finding themselves in the third place match here, Team Khastik, impressive showing in the last couple of games. Despite a shaky finish to an otherwise obliterating performance in Game 2. And Goradat kind of feels like we're starting to snowball in that direction. Starting to maybe have similar conversations about the Kleena ADC, Twig, Kleena. You got to get in there and get into the fight. C-Host, though, is largely going to be providing you your range. But if we're already at the point in the game, 19 minutes in, Team Twig not feeling good around any of these neutral objectives. Might just be buy your time, buy your items, and Team Khastik's in a really good spot. Unless Team Twig can find a good fight over here on left.
I think with Ratsquid in this kind of position,
Koja Fox.
this low, yeah, I don't think you get
stun.
in. Yeah, if you get out, honestly, was going to be the real question. They should be fine. You know, Elder doesn't quite have ult yet, but still has blink, dash, things like that. The issue that I think CaptainTwig's team is going to run into here.
Rundus is huge too.
Now that we've finished the Bancross and Typhons for the Anubis, I'm going to throw him under the bus real quick. Don't think I've seen him use his blink at all this game.
No.
But despite all that,
There you go.
objective.
Called it. The Twig blinks in. XD lets the beam fly, but as we've so often seen, the Zhonghui just left alone in the midst of 4 members of the opposing squad. Oh, a 2-for-1 is... KojaFox dives off a minute ago. Man, unfortunate for Elder there. Used the beads and the blink on what might have just been the back end of the fight. C-Host very close to getting his ultimate back. But nope, Team Khastik, just that one extra kill. Gore exposes the first Phoenix of the game in mid.
Anubis back in 10 seconds. Normally I wouldn't be talking about a Fire Giant right now just because it feels like you don't have too much to go for. And it will take a long time for the Anubis to be back on the board. But that's the benefit of having a god like Anubis on your team is he doesn't bring the big burst secure, but man does he bring the burn. You can put your team in front of a Fire Giant with an on-her and him, especially an on-her that has rage. This should be a pretty easy objective to take down. Controlling the zone around it, making sure that you don't get it stolen by a Giannis ult. You can't drag the Fire Giant away and make it, you know, stand off slightly to the side where Sehost can miss. It's going to be in the same spot. So Sehost can steal from anywhere on the map as long as he gets his aim right. And that is going to be maybe the big danger that can slow Team Khastik down right here, is just knowing that starting up an FG, despite the fact that it seems like really right now maybe just the objectively best call, it's going to be too hard to do. Well, now with Twig gone, it might be a little easier.
Yeah, I can hear Twig just saying, all right, in a moment like that. C-Host, again, a defensive ultimate. Game never feels great when the Giannis is turning tail every time with his ult. Despite the laning phase starting off great, now it's just Team Twig running for the hills. Be another root on the KojaFox. Rat Squid's there for the damage. Not quite through the front door, and actually, now Team Khastik have been letting the base of Team Twig. C-Host, oh, good double portal. May just save his life, but Rundus with a 6th kill of the game. Massive running down Team Twig. Only Stewie left alive on the other end of the Dia side, and Team Khastik a clean 4 for none.
Not too, honestly, there's not a whole lot to break into there. They played that well. And it's Sehost specifically, a brilliant play into an unfortunate play. The portals get you out. You do have to essentially leave your team behind, but there's only so much you can do. Then he goes back to open the door for him, and he's half health, and that opens up a conversation for Team Khastik. If Rundus doesn't get in right there, if Rat Squid is forced to use some of his mobility to get in right there, it changes the conversation. You're using something to chase him down. Now you're under Phoenix. Is it really that useful? But you just get to walk into the side. You've got a very, very tanky tank and Kumba from Malachi. So nothing to worry about. You've got someone 2 people at this point that are more than comfortable holding on to things, and good CC as well to just control everybody.
Twig had no one. Twig blinks in, beads, uses everything, and has no support from the rest of his team. Ult from C-Host again. Doesn't quite connect, but the damage on the other side sure does. Double portal yet again from this Giannis. C-Host might just be the savior of this team fight. Oh no, Rundus sees to it. That's not the case. Goodness. 7-1 on Hercules. The flight just completely flipped around by Rundus. Not sure where Elder's gonna go here. Back in, nice knock-up. Oh no, but Malachi lives once again. Elder's just gotta turn and deal a little bit of damage. This is an opportunity for Stewie to put his team back in a good spot, but Sleepy time's enough, and Rat Squid is rejoined.
Dash?
Gotta have the range, yep, sure does. Double kill for the Circuit, and a rampage for Rat Squid, and again it's Stewie on the other end of the Dia side, but this time, clean it dies. It's just a Dia side for Team Khastik, and trade for 2 on the other.
It was a conveyor belt of death there. I mean,
yeah, one after another.
You get one after another. Twig just now respawns, is able to defend the Phoenix. That's a huge win. Was also the first to die in all of that, alongside the Anubis. It's just a huge amount of back and forth. Seho's so close with an ultimate, but again, a little bit too late. And then unfortunately, it was just a numbers advantage at that point, right? You lose Twig, you get the Anubis, but you lose your mid laner as well, and then it's just 3v4, and these 4 have been diving. They have been just nonplussed by the damage thrown their way. Grave, I can't count the amount of times I've watched them walk away with like 1 HP, literally 1 hit away, just like a stiff breeze would knock them over, but nobody's there to make the wind flow. And unfortunately for CaptainTwig, it means that now you're looking at a team that's double upped on your kills, way up on your gold, and 5 levels in the support role. That's making a pretty hefty difference here. That level 19 Kumba, you know, at level 12 we talk about an advantage because you get the relic. Level 19 with this gold, like the reason Team Khastik can get away with so much is because this Kumba can just hold aggro for so long.
Twig running the wrong direction here. It's only a matter of who. Twig does not have Blink. The boulder hits, so somebody's going to get credit for the kill. It'll be Rundus with his 7th in a row. I guess it was 1-0, died, and now has gone 7-0 down the remainder of that stretch. Built a Deathbringer at the end of the Hercules build as well.
Malachi's just laughing.
Yeah. I mean, why not? You're 8-1. Deathbringer Herc.
They genuinely can't kill you right now, it feels like.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they can. He's 8-1. I'm not sure anyone can really fight Rundus. Hell, Malachi may even be able to solo the opposing carry as a support. Stewie agrees. He'll dash away. Won't be a solo, though, because Rat Squid is here, and Rat Squid also 7 in a row. We have finally reached that point, Gore, where I think we're one big fight away from Team Khastik taking 3rd place.
Well, they've got to get there. This has been where CaptainTwig is able to mount so much. It's the defense. For some reason, this team's just so good on defense.
Oh
and Seho shows why.
I have not seen a one-shot like that in quite some time. Goodness, Seahost, and a drop down from Elder maybe gives Team Twig a fight.
Good
Team Twig needs Twig to start doing big numbers. Helps out with the fight. And a kill early on here, but still it's Team Khastik scattering Team Twig off into the wind. Defense is there and keeps the other 2 Phoenixes alive, but Gore mid lane Phoenix does fall, and that's maybe where the focus was for Team Khastik. Taunt back through, Rat Squid with another. So it's a fun-looking fight for Team Twig. Maybe another for Seahost. Gotta hit your autos. Oh, missed the portal as well. The dash away from Rat Squid, despite the blink from Seahost. May still be enough here. Because guess what? Rundus right around the corner. Might not be great for the Giannis if you keep this chase up.
I was also thinking, buy a little time, slow Rat Squid's back. Now you don't have vision, so that's going to cause some trouble. But your ult just came back up.
No.
Oh, but
wow.
it's used to retreat, not as
That
impressive.
feels terrible for Seahost and Stewie. You're your team's carries, and you got a half-health Herc.
Someone finally did it!
And you still run. Malachi dies. Wasn't a shutdown, though, unless there was a shutdown for assist. But that XD returns the favor. All right, we've descended a bit here, Gore. We've started that conveyor belt style of game, going one after another. This is usually when the captains say, okay, take a breather, we're far enough ahead, let's finally regroup, stop giving over kills, get this FG, and see about these last couple Phoenixes.
Or, hear me out, fight for 2 more minutes, and then it's enhanced. and then just
Yeah,
see
that's true.
where it all falls.
They're waiting 15 seconds for Malachi anyway. So you're probably right.
Well, yeah, you wait 15 seconds for the respawn, then another 15, and by then it's only a minute and a half, minute and 20 for respawns for the fire giant.
And that's a long time.
And you got to capture the beacon, so that's going to take a little bit of time. You might, worry about the poke. You got to ward, Dave. That's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah. I mean, already it's
and then
a
by
minute and a
then
half.
you're only 10 seconds away. Might as well wait.
Yep.
Nah, they're
Yep.
going to burn it if they get the opportunity. If they feel
Well,
like... well, actually, if they don't feel pressure, they might just wait.
You know Twig is not going to step up. There is a chance, though. Saving grace could be Seahost on a snipe. Literal zero vision around the FG, and Seahost otherwise occupied over in mid. All right, so FG before enhanced for Team Khastik, maybe just uninterested. You've got enough of a gold lead. You essentially already have an enhanced fire giant. But they're going to go back and reset anyway. I'm not sure it matters much at the end of the day, though, Gore. There's a healthy enough lead for Team Khastik here. And you got Seahost running for the hills.
what we've done and seen right here, like having mid open, it gives you so many opportunities to make this Phoenix defense just feel so bad. Because Malachi and Rundus can just walk up behind you now. They can blink up behind you and cause a lot of trouble.
And that's exactly what Malachi does. An epic uppercut on a Twig, starts the fight and finishes it for Team Twig's captain. Again, C-Host left running. An awkward fight, though, for XD, caught between members of Team Twig that are potentially going to collapse on both of the carries. Elder never really got a chance to go in despite having one of the more mobile ultimates. C-Host has found his way into the backline, and XD falls immediately. But Rundus plus Rat Squid is a winning combination. 21 combined kills between the two of them, and maybe all they need, though. Koja Fox, some good damage for Grave. Elder, Stewie, Koja Fox got to get it done if Koja Fox can even live.
Survives. That fountain does a lot of work. You don't have XD001. You might not be able to do the Titan here. The low health bars for your tanks. You can get a kill. If you can get the CC to lock someone down, it's open. But instead, you might lose Malachi.
Yeah, we might be doing this again if Team Twig can mount a defense. Maybe one more reset, though. Graves got enough damage. You just need your tanks to stand in front of the Phoenixes. CaptainTwig is up in 1 second. He has Blink, does not have ultimate, however. And that's enough for Team Khastik to not like what they see. Grave hates it even more. In goes Twig, and down goes Grave.
Defense, solid. Grave gone for almost a full minute is genuinely devastating. And, you know, last time, so we were looking at Twig. Let's go to game 2. First off, they were down way further. Now they're down Stewie, so that's going to change some things. In fact, these kills,
yeah, all right,
they're just running through right now.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time. This is going to look great from Koja Fox, but the follow-up, oh my God, a total whiff from Elder, a double kill for Rundus.
Host, you got to be the one.
Yeah, he might be. That'll kill off Rundus.
Has crit.
And it took a minute, but Rundus laughing at the end of his death.
He got like a 700 crit on Seos there.
Didn't make a difference, though, at the end of it.
Killed him.
You almost did.
Oh.
C-Host is the one who wins this day. This is the back and forth nature around these offenses that we've seen, though, Gore. For CaptainTwig, their team, just refusing to lose here in our third place match of the SMITE Content Creator Cup. And Team Khastik, refusing to win. I'm not sure it'll change the outcome.
The thing I was going to say earlier was that the thing about game 2
Tell me.
was not only was CaptainTwig just so far devastating. I mean, they're about 20K in the hole, so it's not necessarily like they're doing better in that department.
Them too, huh?
Kills are doing great. Oh, only 20, right? that's pretty good, honestly, all things considered. Those student loans still eating. But they only have 3 Phoenixes to go through, and 30 minutes in, if you can, you know, delay to the next Fire Giant, you get an enhanced FG, you can burn through a tier 2 tower and a Phoenix and win the game pretty easily here. So, like, that's, you know, another, minute and a half, 2 minutes delay that you have to go through. But it is something that gives you not even like a silver lining, just like a genuine line of play. Defend right now, do whatever you can. Stepping up a little too far for my taste, but being able to defend, survive, and then force a fight around an enhanced Fire Giant.
You know what this kind of reminds me of, Gore? Only the carries have Aegis. It reminds me of when Aegis was disabled in the SPL for a little while.
Oh, what a great time.
And we had some really fun games. Carries were just getting one shot. Carries hated it. Everyone else liked it. Because both mid laners have gone blink beads, that's what this is bringing me back to. Stewie and Grave have that extra layer of safety, but the mid laners want to get in. CaptainTwig wanted to get out, but again, left alone with Team Khastik. Stop me if you've heard it before from a Zhang Kui in this set. Left alone with 4 or 5. Doesn't quite get the damage off either. Team Khastik may not need this next FG. Ooh, Rat Squid low, however. Ooh, an Elder from around the corner. Finishes off what C-Host started. But can Elder get out? Sure can. Grave immediately flips the script and sends it right back.
And Grave, you can see, like, last item, sell your starter, get the Hasten Fatalis. At this point, you recognize, you know what? I'm hitting hard. I'm going to just chase him down. As long as I can get a kill, I can get a kill. And you just have to put a little bit of pressure on. Fire Giant's gone. You don't have to worry about that right now. It's actually respawned. You have to worry about these Phoenixes respawning, though.
Malachi super low here. Being his passive, this is giving it's time for the Titan to die in the meantime. I'm looking at the Kumba, trying to avoid death on the left. I've just completely ignored the big one. That's the Titan. And it's Team Khastik getting it done eventually, Gore, and having some fun along the way.
being able to set things up. I mean, look, they play about as straightforward as you can. That game went back and forth for a little bit. Like, kills were going back and forth. There's a lot of ebb and flow. And then finally something broke open. And I think it was, despite the fact that they were sitting on the Anubis, kind of grinding the Anubis down as much as they could, eventually they just got objectives, right? And that's something that the Anubis was able to bring. I think I had highlighted it at one point, but when you ult, you've got the kind of damage that god has in general. It just burns through everybody and every objective including. And so when you're able to go up and get a Pyromancer, you can step up and take down the Gold Fury or Pyromancer. I already said that one. Fire Giant, which is on the other side of that wall.
Probably happened a couple times.
Yeah, it just really enables you to get a lot more done. And so I think the Anubis getting online, the Typhon's Fang, like once that was finished, we got to see like a ramp up for the team as a whole squad. And then it became an entirely difficult and different conversation for CaptainTwig. It was, can C host it at all? If the answer is yes, that fight might go well for you. But if not, you're getting Serket ulted. You're getting dove by Rundus, who by the end of it was a Deathbringer Hercules. Like, it just became too much to handle.
It was. Yeah, it was a fun avenue back into casting, Gore. A couple high chaos
Some goofy games.
Right, gets the play-by-play.
You know what?
Back in it.
Charity wins.
That's right. Charity wins is all about having fun, all about charity, all about loving one another. It's Team Khastik getting the 2-1 win here in our third place best of 3. Take a quick break, and when we come back, you'll see the desk.